Hello happy souls, welcome back to my channel. This is Charlotte with Happy Twins 1111. I am so excited to be here today. It has been the longest time since I felt this kind of divine, powerful impulse to create a reading for you guys. You know, these messages flow through me in a very purposeful manner, and that impulse just hasn't been there for the longest time. And it was very exciting to feel that powerful urge to create this reading for you today. I don't doubt that there's going to be some really important messages coming through for those of you that have found the video. And we are asking Spirit for the messages we need the most. And my spiritual counsel was very, very insistent that we leave it wide open in that respect, that we give Spirit the room to really bring forward the messages that are essential for this community at this time. Now, before I get into the piles, I would also like you all to just take one moment to share a prayer with me. The collective consciousness is very, very powerful. When we all work together with the same loving intention, we really do have the power to use our light and our energy to move darker energy and support a more positive outcome and resolution for the greater good of all of humanity and the world that we live in right now. My heart goes out to the people of the Ukraine. I'm sure you share that sentiment, but a lot of people watch this video. You know, I get thousands of hits every time, and that's potentially thousands of really good prayers and wishes that can reach the people and the places that need it the most at this time. So if you don't want to listen to that, that's fine. The timestamps are in this description box below. Please feel free to skip straight to your reading. But if you would like to join me, please just take a moment to close your eyes. The goal is just to bring ourselves back to peace and centeredness first, to drop down into your heart space and to take a few nice, long, deep breaths. And I'm going to say the words really slowly. If you would like to repeat them either out loud or in your mind, you can, or you can just listen along and intend that you align yourself with the intentions that I'm communicating. So just breathing deeply, really feeling into your heart space. Dear universe, I consciously give love and light to the world. In this moment, I dedicate myself and my power to world peace. I pray that those facing fear and struggle find the strength they need to remain safe, protected, and well. And I pray that those that disrupt peace find love, compassion, and forgiveness in their hearts. Dear universe, let there be peace. Let there be a positive outcome for all of humanity and the world we live in. Thank you. It is my will, and so it is. Oh, lovely, such lovely energy. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. I really appreciate it. Every little helps, right? Oh, okay. So let's get into this. We've got 4 piles for you. In pile number 1, we have Cobalto Calcite, and for this pile we will be using the Dream Visions Tarot. This is a beautiful deck created by one of my students, Emma Zhang. Very excited to premiere my use of it on my channel today. In pile number 2, we have this beautiful double terminated ametrine, and the deck we will be using for this pile is the Gentle Tarot. In pile number 3, we have citrine, and for this pile we will be using the Forest of Enby Tarot by Binks Olsen. Love this one as well. In pile number 4, we have fluorite, and we will be using the Midnight City Tarot. So take your time choosing a pile. Remember, there's no right or wrong way. Just see which one you're drawn to the most. You can pause the video and douse over them if you want, or see which crystal you're drawn to. If you're drawn to more than one pile, it just means that there are messages in more than one pile for you. So just trust that and go ahead and watch whatever you feel the impulse to watch. The timestamps are in the description box below. They're also pinned at the top of the comments, and I will see you at your pile. Hello Pile 1, welcome to your reading. You have chosen the Cobalto Calcite and this beautiful Dream Visions Tarot deck. Today we are asking for the messages that you need the most. We don't know what this reading may entail. Perhaps it's love, career, relationships, or family situations, or spiritual practice. Whatever it is you need the most will come through today. We're going to be using the Oracle cards as well, and we will be pulling some charms. So stay tuned. There will also be an extended reading for you today. So if this reading resonates for you, you can find a link to the extended reading in the description box below. So let's do this. I'm going to move this card over here. We're going to read that one first in a moment, but let's give the cards a really good shuffle. I like to shuffle on screen so that you can see, that the cards aren't pre-picked. They're all random and relative to the messages that Spirit needs to communicate the most. If you skipped the intro today, I ask you ever so kindly to please revert back, because there is a short prayer there for the Ukraine and for world peace. And, the collective consciousness is very, very powerful. By sitting together in a shared intention, we really can move energy. And if you can take a moment, in fact, I don't even think it's a full minute, it's a really short prayer. But if you can take a moment to go ahead and sit in that good energy and send your light out into the world, it is very, very much appreciated. Very turbulent times out there at the moment. And God bless all the people that are struggling as a direct result of that. But let's get into your reading. We're going to give these a really good shuffle. I'm going to riffle shuffle them as well. This deck is actually made by one of my students, illustrated and created by a lovely lady called Zhang. It's probably one of the most beautiful decks I've had the pleasure of working with. It really is stunning. The energies are so powerful. It's an independently created deck. I will pop a link to this where you can purchase it in the description box below if you would like one for your very self. But it's absolutely stunning. So let's get into this. Dream Visions Tarot, and we are asking Spirit for the messages you need the most. What does Pile 1 need to hear the most? Let's see. Okay, we have got the 9 of Swords. So this is a very anxious and stressful time for you, Pile 1. Okay, 2 came out there. We've got the 7 of Swords, the King of Cups in reverse, and the 2 of Swords in reverse, and the 5 of Cups in reverse. Now, please don't worry about reversals. It doesn't mean they're negative. There is a brief write-up in the description box below that explains how and why I use reverse cards. And clarifying these, the 9 of Wands in reverse, the Queen of Pentacles in reverse, Temperance in reverse, the Star in reverse, and the 10 of Cups in reverse. Right, let's get some Oracle cards as well. I'm going to start with the Moonology Oracle deck. And I forgot to ask you guys as well to ask the universe for a sign if you would like to. You can still do that while I'm shuffling and choosing cards now. A sign can be anything at all, and it's just a way for the universe to really reassure you that it's paying attention and that the messages coming through are meant for you. You can ask to see an animal, or a name, or a flower, or an object, or a specific god or goddess, a sun sign or star sign, whatever works for you. There's no right or wrong sign to ask for. Let's see what's coming through from this deck. Believe in the impossible, blue moon. Balance, spirituality and practicality, full moon in Pisces. I'm just going to move these up slightly so we've got a bit more room down here. And from the Healers of the Earth deck, commit to a path, keep focused, continue. Just one of my long hairs there, got them mixed in with the cards. And without a care, and flight plan. And we're going to grab one from the Animal Spirit deck as well. We have Buffalo and Elk. Okay, so we will get more cards as we go, but let's just start part one with what we have on the table. I want to begin by reading the first card which you actually chose for your pile, which was this beauty down here. And this is actually the High Priestess, number 2. And, you know, the High Priestess is all about our intuition and our connection to that through our emotional body. The key words on here are secrets, dreams, wisdom, inner voice, and spirit world. Based on the first row of cards and in connection to this High Priestess card, you're really being asked to trust your instincts and your divine impulses. You know, I spoke at the beginning of this reading in the intro about that divine impulse we feel when we're meant to do something, and it really is an overwhelming urge that is without logic. It's just an impulse to really commit yourself to a certain task or practice or project. And this is what you need to get aligned with the most. You have been operating from the perspective of your head for a very long time, and you know your mind is it's like a computer. It is not a wise guide. It's looking at logic and rationale and data. And sometimes the things we meant to do just don't stack up in a logical way. That first card out, the Nine of Swords, is about anxiety, stress, insomnia, sleepless nights. It's clarified by the Nine of Wands in reverse, which is the energy of exhaustion and not feeling like you can persevere. It may have been that you have been in a really challenging situation where you're still applying yourself to something that you're not meant to be doing, and you're working so hard at it and wondering why it's not working out for you, why it's not happening, and why it's not feeling good. There's all kinds of false and limiting beliefs in your head as well that keep you stuck in this really stagnant situation. We've got the Seven of Swords here, which is about strategy, but it's also about deceit. And I think this card really does a beautiful job of emphasizing that dual aspect, you know, the two faces looking in polar opposite directions. I'm really intrigued that the moon is here and that neither of these faces are facing the moon. And of course, the moon represents our intuition, that High Priestess energy. And it shows up here in the background, which is really indicative of how you're not paying attention to that divine wisdom, the spiritual guidance that is flowing through you and asking you to pay attention to the direction that the universe is trying to steer you in. I'm hearing that some of your limiting beliefs are so narrow in their perspective that you're not even seeing all of the potential opportunities available to you in this time. This may be a time of dramatic financial instability for you, because we see the Queen of Pentacles in reverse here, and this is someone who feels like they can neither nurture themselves or those around them, and that they're struggling to maintain the abundance and stability that they may have become accustomed to in the past. The King of Cups here, front and center, also in reverse, is about really struggling to regulate yourself emotionally and maintain a really secure and stable state of being. Indeed, this card is clarified by Temperance in reverse. And Temperance in reverse is all about not being able to sustain our own inner power. You know, you'll see in the traditional deck, and indeed it's featured here, that we see someone with 2 cups pouring energy from one cup to the other. And this is a number 5 card. It's about learning to sustain ourselves with all of that vital emotional balance and power that helps us feel good in our world and helps us feel secure in ourselves, because we can meet our own needs. And so when the King of Cups, which is Scorpio energy, distorted by the way, when this comes up in reverse, clarified by Temperance in reverse, what we're actually seeing is someone that may feel emotionally out of control, that's really struggling to rebalance themselves, and probably looking externally for that balancing, you know, looking to others for that support, really needing other people to try and prop us up, and just feeling like we can't take care of ourselves. It is a codependent energy, and I'm guided to reassure you that that's nothing to be ashamed of. You know, if someone's starving hungry, they will resort to begging, and that is just, you know, part of being human. We have to survive, and our survival instinct, you know, will always kick in and cause us to seek that support or help externally. But what the universe is saying here is that you do have the power to give it to yourself, and you have the power to bring all of this back into balance. You're probably feeling very frustrated and rejected and neglected by the people around you, because they're not showing up to give you the loving sustenance you need. there's a really strong message here that you must take into account, that that isn't a measure of their love for you. You know, the people that you may be leaning into for support, their inability to show up in the way that you need them and want them really isn't personal. And you're being asked to reflect on that and to understand that actually the universe is also conspiring to make sure that you're persistently guided back to yourself. You know, 9, the first card out, which was clarified by the 9 of Wands in reverse, is connected to the energy of the Hermit and the power of solitude. And again, that 9 of Wands in reverse indicates your lack of motivation, your lack of drive, you know, this exhausted energy that just feels like it can't carry on. But when we turn this card upright, you know, even though the 9 of Swords is still a very challenging energy, and there are undoubtedly circumstantial stress factors that are having an impact right now, the 9 of Wands is such a determined energy. The 9 of Wands, when it's upright, says, I am tired, but I will keep going. I am not giving up. I'm going to make this happen. And it does say down here, believe in the impossible. You know, a big part, and it's 11:11 as I say that on the clock, but you know, for the greater part, we are what we believe, and the future that we create for ourselves is rooted in our beliefs. Manifestation is thought plus belief. That's what equals creation. And so, as we described earlier, a lot of the opportunities that are arising for you right now, you're not even seeing, because your own limiting beliefs create too many obstacles. And so that they're not even options that are on your agenda, because you've already decided that they're impossible. You're being asked to reflect on what it is you truly want, not on what you think you can have. It is not your job to figure out how to make this happen. You know, it's only your job to figure out what feels good and to roll with it. When we know what we want, but it feels impossible, we'll tend to disregard it and instead, you know, just do whatever is available to us. And this is where you're going wrong. The universe is saying, you know what you want, so just set the intention that that's what you want and that you can have it. You don't need to know how to get it at this stage. You just need to believe that however impossible this feels for you right now, it's an opportunity that is available to you. And again, coming back to the High Priestess, this is the divine sense of knowing and power that the universe is asking you to pay attention to. The things that excite you, the things that make you feel alive and that you feel that overwhelming impulse to pursue, are the things you are meant to be doing. However impossible it may seem, if you're feeling that divine drive towards it, it's the right thing. And again, with a full moon in Pisces, which also connects back to the energy of the High Priestess, you're being asked to balance spirituality and practicality. You know, and at the moment, even though you consider yourself someone fairly spiritual, in real terms, you are focused on the practical, so-called realistic options that are being presented to you. Your mind's already decided, well, this is what's practical and available. So, you know, all of that divine, dreamy stuff that I really want to do, that's just not viable. So I'm not going to allow myself to focus on that. And that this is really misguided. You have to allow yourself to move forward with what feels good. This is what you are being summoned to do more than anything. You've been stuck for a long time. And I'm hearing as well in your case, there is a tremendous amount of external interference. The people in your experience, in your environment, in your social network, in your family, they can't see what you can see. They can't feel what you can feel. You have a much deeper worldview of self, others, and the world we live in. You have access to more knowing, more intuition, more truth, and you have power and light in you that allows you to dream a new world into being. A lot of the indecisiveness you feel and your inability to move out of your current situation is rooted in the very limiting and misguided advice that you're receiving from the people around you. People that are by nature very realistic, very practical, even bordering pessimistic. And I'm also guided that many of those people don't necessarily have your best interests at heart, that some of them don't want you to succeed because that's very triggering for them, and you know, they want to maintain this energy of superiority. So you have to come back and trust self. Remember that Hermit energy that's coming through here in the beginning. You are being guided back to your own inner power, your own inner truth. Spirit is saying if you can focus on the energy of introspection, learn to give yourself the loving sustenance you need, you can transform this situation for the highest good. The Two of Swords is very similar to this Seven of Swords in that the moon in both cards remains in the background. The difference here is that in the Two of Swords, the lady is wearing a blindfold. Not only is the moon or her intuition in the background, but she's refusing to look at it. She's refusing to acknowledge it as a valuable tool that can support her in how to best move forward. The two swords crossed over represent that indecision. And what we're seeing here is not just indecision, but a refusal to even consider the right options, as we discussed before. And with it being clarified by the star in reverse, it maybe feels very hopeless. This is the energy of pessimism. This is the energy of, negative ruminating and not really allowing yourself to align with the true potential that's available to you. You are not really stuck, part one. You have so much power and so much potential, and the universe is taking care of you and wants you to succeed, but it cannot choose the right actions for you. It can only allow you to stand in awareness of them so that you can take those right actions. You always have free will, but if you're not even tuning in and listening to that divine guidance, you're not going to be receiving the messages you need, which will help drive you forward. I do believe that you're in tune with the impulse. You know what feels good, you know what excites you, and you know what you really want to do. You're just not considering it as a possibility, and you're looking at the worst case scenario always. As we described here, a tremendous amount of anxiety here. And anxiety is a fear of the future. It's, and really fearing the future is nonsensical because it hasn't happened yet. We could argue that there's always, some degree of probability, but the truth is unexpected things do happen, and we can't know the future. The deeper we lean into the future, the less we can really know how it's going to work out. The future is not set in stone. We create it with every breath and every step that we take. And so you're being asked to recognize your power to transform your tomorrow into one of abundance and peace and comfort, instead of expecting it to be one of lack, one of pain, one of suffering, one of disappointment. You're not understanding that this whole negative thought process that your community, the people around you, nurture and stimulate in you is actually what is sabotaging your opportunities to move in the direction you want to move in. Now, coming back to all of this emotional upheaval and lack of regulation front and center, this anxiety doesn't just exist in the mind, it's fueled by your inability to actually bring yourself back to an emotional balance. We see the reason for this here with this Five of Cups in reverse. The Five of Cups in reverse is all about unresolved grief. And it also demonstrates, because it's in reverse, your unwillingness to face that grief. And your logic is, I have too much going on. Things are already really challenging for me. I simply cannot open that can of worms right now because I won't cope. Again, we hear more of that negativity, negative expectation coming through. You must stop telling yourself you can't cope. Your mind believes what it is told, and the most powerful words in your dictionary are I am. When you say, I am not coping or I am not going to cope, you are manifesting that very energy that is so unsupportive of your experience. Also, it's this that is actually going to liberate you and allow you to receive what you want. When you move this overwhelming emotional blockage, you are going to allow yourself to generate more internal stability so that you can see more clearly and feel better about things. We also have the Ten of Cups in reverse here, and this pertains to a relationship that you really want but hasn't happened. And it's in reverse, not because it's not going to happen, it's in reverse because the energy that's required to open that door for you is blocked. As I said, when we turn this upright, when you face your inner turmoil, the grief that needs to flow, and look how she's leaning into this cup. She's putting her ear into the cup. The cup represents the emotional body. You're being asked to listen to your own heart. You're being asked to pay attention to the pain that is presenting and to transmute it, to resolve it, to release it. When we disconnect from our emotional body because it's too uncomfortable and we feel like we don't have the time, space or resources to deal with it, what we actually do is unwittingly create a build-up. you know, because that emotion that, you know, is there and needs somewhere to flow to so it can be moved out of us and through us, is now building up, and you get this massive pressure which sooner or later will explode, probably at the most inconvenient and unexpected time. You know, someone will trigger you and boom, it'll be like a bomb going off. You need to consciously face your emotional pain right now. You need to lean into it and listen to your heart and the sadness and the grief that resides there. You need to trust that in doing so, you're actually liberating yourself from that pain so that you can move forward. This relationship that's in the background, the universe is waiting to manifest this. You know, you've set yourself up for failure because you're believing it can't happen, and you're so afraid of it not happening, you're so anxious about the future that you're not allowing yourself to unblock that energy and just allow it to move. As I said, you know, when we turn all of these cards on the table upright, I'm going to do that now, we have such a different story. There are still challenges here, but actually in the upright position, this is a really positive and beautiful reading. King of Cups is emotional maturity and intelligence, balanced. Temperance is being able to take care of ourselves, to sustain ourselves in that feeling of self-satisfaction, self-esteem, self-confidence, self-power. You know, the Star is that faithful optimism that everything is flowing in the right direction and that our wishes can come true. And even though these two cards are still challenging, the outcome is beautiful. The Ten of Cups represents emotional satisfaction, completion, union, the coming together of two loving hearts. All of these things are available to you. They are simply blocked by your own inability to recognize the potential that lies before you. So you really need to release the anxiety. I think that one was already upright. You really need, you know, to allow yourself to get above the fear and the anxiety so that you can focus on your inner truth. And it says here, commit to a path, keep focused and continue. Persistence pays off. And I'm really drawn to how this is a light path. These are the numbers 7 and 7, which are divine. 7 is a divine number. It's the number of divinity. And when you add these together, it's number 14, which is number 1, the energy of the magician, the energy of creation, and number 4, the energy of stability, the energy of balance and security. And you can see that this path is a light path. You know, there are all of these clouds in the background and she's just walking towards the light, consciously choosing the light. You know, I do think that you are by nature a very spiritual person, but spirituality isn't a practice that you actually apply to yourself. It's something you're interested in, it's something you study, it's something you watch content about, it's something that you truly believe in, but you're not recognizing your own divinity. You're not recognizing your own power to transform your life from one of lack to one of, you know, intensely beautiful pleasure and abundance and everything in it that you need. Without a care, disregard, ignorance, and turning a blind eye. This brings me back to the energy of interference in your external community. This is your friends, your family, the relationships you have with people that are keeping you stuck. Look at all these spider webs here and how there's no growth. You know, the universe is there trying to illuminate the situation, but you're not paying attention. You're not taking responsibility for the energy that's, you know, you choose to put yourself in. And we do choose who we interact with. We do choose the conversations that we listen to. We do choose, you know, what to actually believe. There's a lot of people around you that through no fault of their own have a very unhealthy, distorted and limiting perspective of life. Perhaps you were raised in this really negative, pessimistic energy. You know, if you were raised in an environment where there was poverty, lack, you know, tragedy and trauma, you've been conditioned to expect that. And perhaps this is why it's so hard for you at the moment to really shake that painful anxiety that keeps you in that fear state of expecting the worst. Because if that's what you've seen and experienced, it's going to be easier for you to believe that. But remember, belief is a state of being. That isn't the truth for many, many people. Many people don't have those negative experiences. So it's simply illogical to assume that that's the only thing that's possible for you. As I said, it's easy to believe when we've only had lack and poverty and dysfunction and, you know, trauma, that that's all we're going to get more of. But we can break that cycle by choosing instead to sit in the energy of faith and optimism, by expecting the best. We are the sum of the people we spend time with. You know, every conversation we have is programming us, our belief systems, to a certain degree. And so we have to take responsibility for where we're placing ourselves. We have to pay attention to how unhelpful some of the things that are being shared with us, you know, some of the things that are literally conditioning who we are, and to take responsibility for removing ourselves from those situations. And it does say here, flight plan, a trip, a disappearance, or a lack of closure. This is also a number 7, and I do get that this is twofold. In one respect, you're being asked to take a trip for some of you, you know, to disappear for a while and to create some space for yourself. But for some of you with this lack of closure energy, I feel like someone else connected to this relationship disappeared. Maybe someone ghosted you, cut you off unexpectedly, left the country, moved away, or just turned their back on you and the relationship you were having. The message around this, whichever side of that coin you fall on, because as I said, for some of you, it's the need to go away. For some of you, it's indicative of a person that's left you. Whichever way you look at that, the pumpkin here and the carriage. Remember that Cinderella story? You know, that actually she gets what she wishes for. And 7 is the number of divinity. And look at the moon here in front of the clouds. Remember, the clouds represent, you know, the lack of clarity, the interference. But the moon, our intuition, our power, sits in front of the clouds. We always have the power to get above any dark or low vibration energy, any obstacles that are in our way, and have our wishes come true to support us in moving to where we need to be. And you can see here that there's steps. You know, this is a process of ascension. It's about elevating yourself above the difficult energies. So for some of you, you need to get away. For some of you, this is about reflecting on that person that left you and realizing there's a hidden blessing within this experience, that you're being guided back to yourself, your own divinity and your own ascension. And again, I want you to remember that right now you're not meant to be in a relationship. You know, this number 9, again, is hermit energy. It's about the power of solitude and introspection and finding that vital inner love, inner power for yourself. Let's look at the animal cards here. We've got buffalo and elk. Buffalo for me is such a beautiful energy. It's so stable. It's so secure. It's so strong. Think of the buffalo as a creature, this big, sturdy creature. It has this thick coat that helps to protect it and keep it warm. It has these horns which help, you know, help it feel powerful in conflict. But we can see here with all of this lightning in the background that this is a very triggering time for you. And the universe is reminding you with this buffalo energy that you have way more strength, way more power than to remain still and calm in this energy than you are currently allowing yourself to believe. Again, it's taking me back to those limiting statements. I can't cope. I won't cope. This is too much. I'm going to fail. I can't get through this. Everything is impossible. Everything's going to go to shit, you know. You have to change the inner message. You have to start, you know, using affirmations that are positive. I am worthy and deserving of a good life. Everything is going to be okay. I am going to be okay. A lot of these triggers that are occurring right now are divinely guided. And that's not the universe trying to punish you. It's giving you opportunities to recognize your own strength. And I do believe it's also supporting the collapse of circumstances and situations in your life right now that don't serve you. So, you know, you're being asked to pay attention. The whole point of this process is to return you to yourself so that you can discover your own power. The elk is also a beautiful divine symbol. I'm really drawn to the antlers here and how they really dominate this picture. And again, that moon in the background illuminated by yellow and red. Now, incidentally, yellow is the color of the solar plexus, which is also our trigger center. And red is the color of our root chakra, which is where we store all of our childhood trauma, our past, all, you know, that sense of self, the family experience. And so again, you know, a lot of this needed to happen now. Yes, it's triggering. Yes, it's hard, but it's all coming up for review because you're ready to heal this grief. And the elk is also a powerful animal and a powerful representation of stability. you know, of being grounded, of balancing that spiritual and practical energy to help you move through this with as much grace as possible. Really powerful energies coming for you there, part 1. Right, let's get some final guidance card and some charms for you as well. I'm going to go with the Divine Abundance deck and also the Keepers of the Light. All the decks I use, by the way, are listed in the description box below. And while I'm giving these a shuffle, don't forget there is an extended for this reading. If you would like to check that out, the link's always in the description box below. So if this reading resonated with you and you want to come with me to go deeper, you can join me over there. So we have got companionship, guidance, right action, and flow. And from the Keepers of the Light deck, Kali Ma, facing fear. One more from this deck. And Holy Amethyst, Divine Alchemy. Absolutely beautiful. And let's get some charms. Okay, let's see what we've got here. We have got the Moth, the Sun, the Tape Measure. This one says, everything will be all right. Indeed it will. And fake news. So these really affirm the messages that have already come through to my mind. Okay, companionship. Giving someone your complete presence is astonishing gift. Even though this looks like there's 2 people here, what I'm hearing is that this message was actually intended for you and giving yourself the companionship that you need. Give yourself your complete presence. It truly is a transformative and astonishing gift. Elephants for me are symbolic of remembrance, of tapping into that soul's truth and wisdom that we've learned through many, many incarnations. The dragonfly also appears up here. And think about dragonflies, how much control they have around water. You see them skimming really close to the surface without actually sinking into it. Remember what we said about your emotions and of feeling like they're just out of control and, you know, making you so uncomfortable because you're drowning in pain. You know, the dragonfly is a message within this card that when you give yourself your own, you know, complete presence, when you sit with and honor your feelings, when you become your own best friend, you know, you're going to develop that powerful emotional stability that is going to allow you to soar. Look at these little birds here. You know, there's one here on the elephant's back, but here they're soaring up into the sky. So you really do need to learn to be your own best friend. This came through at the very beginning of the reading, in which you were saying, you know, it may feel really upsetting right now that the people you really want to save you, you really want to help you, just aren't showing up. And like I said, to a degree, the universe is conspiring to allow this to happen because it's guiding you back to yourself. And indeed, guidance comes through here. The butterfly, symbolic of transformation. And it says, when you make divine intelligence your foundation, you finally have a fixed star to follow. And again, this really affirms what came through earlier about getting out of your head. You know, logic isn't always right. This is about trusting the inner guidance, the divine guidance, and allowing yourself to believe in the impossible. You know, rather than doing what you think is possible, do what you want to do. You don't have to know how it's going to work right now. You don't need to know how to make it happen. You just need to take that first step and the right action. And look at all these birds soaring and taking off here. It says, aparigraha literally means let everything that wants to go, go, and everything that wants to come, come. You know, this is about releasing resistance. You know, releasing all of those limiting beliefs that inhibit you from moving in the direction that wants for you. The right affirmation here, in addition to let everything that wants to go, go, and everything that wants to come, come, I would like you to use the affirmation, I'm open and willing to receive everything that is meant for me. Even if I can't understand it right now, I am open and willing to receive and allow everything that is meant for me. And just allow the universe to take care of that. Allow yourself to be in the flow. Dolphins are powerfully symbolic of joy, of happiness. Allow me, divine, to move with the flow and respond with calmness and peace. You know, this is about not going against the grain. This is about paying attention to when you feel resistance. When you feel resistance, you are literally moving in the wrong direction. You know, pay attention to the resistance. Flow in the direction that feels good. Kali Ma, facing fear. Major spiritual changes are unfolding. This is your chance to soar. As I said, this is all about your ascension. It's about committing to yourself as a divine and spiritual being and recognizing your power and potential to create the life you want. I've never noticed the flowers, I've noticed the flowers, but I've never paid attention to the fact they're actually hibiscus. There's a special message for you here. For some of you that needed to travel, Spain or Spanish-speaking countries are indicated. I don't know why hibiscus means that to me in this moment, but that's what's coming through. Perhaps there's something about Spanish culture or the culture in Spanish-speaking countries that is really going to support your spiritual growth and help you face your fears. I'm thinking as well, even though this is Kali Ma, those skulls as well make me think of that connection to Mexico. But hibiscus, for me, I grew up in Spain, and hibiscus was like my favourite flower because it was everywhere. So this is where I got the Spanish connection from, in case anyone was wondering. But holy amethyst, divine alchemy, move beyond current challenges, focus on what you desire. Isn't that magic? That's exactly what this reading has been about, pile one. Focus on what you desire. And holy amethyst is very closely linked to the high priestess. You know, you really need to pay attention to the energy, the wisdom and the power that is available to you. Focus on what you desire. You can and will move beyond those current challenges. The moth. The moth is a powerful symbol. It's about coming out of the dark into the light. You know, the moth is always drawn to the flame. Trust this impulse to really dig into your spiritual journey. At the moment, you're consuming a lot of information on an intellectual level. You know, this is asking you to actually embody the flame, to step into your own light. And that's why we see the sun here. You know, the sun is also a symbol of joy. It's reminding you that the light is always there for you, and also how essential light is to our growth and well-being. You know, without the sun in the sky, everything would die. Food would no longer grow. The trees wouldn't survive. We certainly wouldn't survive very long. Light is an essential component of your growth, your healing, and your forward journey. You need to be more measured when it comes to your fears. The numbers that are indicated here are 10, 4 and 5. They're the ones that stand out front and center. Remember, 4 is the number of balance and stability. 5 is about higher learning. And it's these things, when you create that emotional balance and stability for yourself, you're going to learn how to move towards completion with that energy of number 10. You need to just trust. Stop being so anxious and paying attention to fake news. And the fake news is all of these limiting and false beliefs that the people in your community have. You know, when some random person says, oh, don't do that, my friend did that, and this is what happened, what they're doing is feeding your fears. You know, they're discouraging you from your truth. Just because it didn't work for someone else doesn't mean it's not going to work for you. Just because everyone else has horror stories or is having a hard time or a tragic life doesn't mean it has to happen to you. Indeed, a lot of these are created internally. It's like we discussed earlier, if you've had a really shit time so far, it can be really hard to trust that you can have a better time. But you have to stop telling yourself these false stories. They are literally keeping you stuck, because the universe is reminding you everything will be all right. It really is going to be okay, part one. You can trust in the forward momentum of your journey. You are special. You are beautiful in your vibration and light, but you need to start taking responsibility for emanating that light, for raising your vibration so you can achieve your fullest potential, both in love, in career, in every aspect of life. Everything is going to get better for you when you start listening to your higher guidance, your inner truth, your own divine wisdom. Now, I'm going to take this over to the extended now. We're going to go deeper, and I really, in your case, I want to look at, you know, which direction is the universe nudging you in. I think it will really help you to get some insight into, okay, if we did what the universe is asking you to do here, you know, turned all of this fear and anxiety into positivity, belief and potential, What is it you can look forward to? And more importantly, what do you need to know to support you in doing that and to moving in the direction you're meant to go? So if you would like to join me over there, links are in the description box below. Before I leave you today, keep an eye on my community page, because we are going to be doing a live with K-Moon soon to talk about twin flame astrology. So excited to share that with you. If you haven't subscribed today, please hit the subscribe button so that we can be friends and I can see you again and you can see me again. And a big thank you to the very special souls that took the time to click on and watch my adverts today. It really does help to support my channel and keep it growing. And it is the most beautiful energy exchange, because it's a, you know, a swap of your time for mine. I appreciate that so much. So thank you if you did that. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed this. That will help this message to get out to the wider community, and we're all doing our bit. So thank you for being here. Hopefully I'll see you at the extended. If not, I will see you next time. Lots of love, part 1. Bye. Hello, part 2. Welcome to your reading. You have chosen the amethyst, or sorry, the ametrine and the gentle tarot. I'm going to shuffle and choose some cards, but whilst I'm doing that, if you skipped the intro today, if you do have the time, please pop back and listen, because I do ask that we share a little prayer for the Ukraine. It's probably not even a full minute long. You know, the collective consciousness working together is powerful. Please join us in taking a moment to share your light with the world and to support world peace. It's a really short prayer. So much appreciated if you could go back and watch that and sit in your prayers. Or of course you can do your own prayers. But I feel like when we all share the exact same intention, it really adds strength and power to the movement of that energy. So please take a moment to do that if you are able. But let's get into this. We are doing a reading today. What are the messages that you need the most, part 2? We don't know what's going to come through. Perhaps it's love, career, family, something else. Whatever you need to hear the most. Whilst I'm shuffling, you can take a moment to ask the universe for a sign. This just gives the universe an opportunity to communicate with you really directly, you know, to synchronize with your expectations, to give you a message that's really going to touch the right spot and help you develop trust and faith in the messages that are coming forward. A sign can be anything at all. You know, it could be an animal, an object, a place or name, a song, a color, a sun sign, or, you know, a god, goddess or deity. There's no right or wrong. Just see whatever comes to mind and set that intention. We're going to use the Oracle cards. We're going to be using the charms, and there will be an extended reading today. So if this one resonates for you, you can find the link for the extended in the description box below. And also watch this space for a live with K-Moon coming to you soon. We're going to be talking about twin flame astrology on my channel. It's so good to be back, by the way. I can't tell you how powerfully driven I felt to do this reading today, and I just feel like I'm on fire with it. It's flowing through me so beautifully in a way it hasn't for so long, which is why I've not been posting, but I am back. It feels really good. Okay, so let's do this. I'm going to pull some cards first. I'm going to get Oracle cards. So what are the messages that Spirit wants to address with you today? Let's see, part 2. This is the Gentle Tarot, by the way. It's a beautiful new deck. I will pop a link for this deck in the description box below. Okay. We have got the Empress in reverse. We have got... what card is that? Okay, so that's a 22, the Unseen. This is a bonus card in this deck. I'm going to get the little book out to figure out what the intended message was, although I think the Unseen is pretty self-explanatory. But we'll have a look to see what the illustrator intended as well. So the Empress in reverse, the Unseen in reverse. We've also got the Six of Thunder in reverse. Okay, now I really need to get the book out because I haven't used this deck yet. And this illustrator has chosen different names for the suits, which I have to be honest really irritates me when it's not obvious. I'm assuming thunder is the element of air or swords, but let's just double check this, shall we? I should have checked this first, but I didn't pick that up. Yeah, so thunder is actually the only one that's changed, and that's the suit of swords. So that's the Six of Swords in reverse. Okay, sorry about that. I didn't notice when I had a flick through these cards before. Also, you mustn't worry about reversals. A lot of people get very intimidated by reverse cards because they've got this idea that they're negative, and they're not. Mostly they're blocked energies. They're asking you to be aware of any obstacles or barriers you're creating for yourself. You know, they're not negative. In fact, I don't think any cards are negative. I think it's, you know, they're neutral and it's how we receive them. But there is a write-up in my description box about why I use reversals if you are interested in reviewing that. So let's see what else is next. We have got the 5 of Swords. And, oh God, here we go again. What's the Flower of Thunder? Number 13. So I think, let's have a look. So it's not that one. I was thinking maybe it's the Death card, but it isn't. What on earth is the Flower of Thunder? You'll have to excuse me. I'm so sorry. I should have checked this out. Maybe it's one of the court cards, but it's got a number on it. 10 of Thunder. Yeah, it is. It's a court card. So the seed is the Page. The root is the Knight. The flower is the Queen. So it's the Queen of Swords in reverse. Christ almighty, you know, even for an experienced tarot reader, and there's a word to any tarot creators and illustrators here, this is so much hard work. You know, I've been reading tarot for 20 years, but when you start changing things up to your own fancy titles, especially the court titles, how are we meant to remember that the flower is the, you know, the Queen? It's really hard. I know it allows you to be creative and whimsical, but it pisses me off. Okay, let's carry on. I apologise for these delays. Right, Ace of Thunder or Ace of Swords. So lots of mental energy here. Let's clarify these part 2. We've got the 2 of Wands in reverse. We have got, oh my God, the Harvest of Stones. I'm pretty sure that's the King of Pentacles. I might, do you know what? I'm feeling like I need to dump this deck and get you another one, but we've picked it, so I'm reluctant to do that. Okay. The Harvest of Stones, yeah, it's the King of Pentacles. Okay. The 4 of Wands. The 10 of Swords in reverse. The Magician. And the Fool. Okay, let's get some more cards for you. I'm going to start with the Moonology Oracle. Let's just move these up a bit so we have space. Moonology Oracle. Conclusions are within reach. Full moon eclipse. And a new start is coming. New moon. It is actually a full moon tomorrow, and it's the last moon of the astrological year, the worm moon. I'm very excited about it because then we head into the spring equinox and a brand new beginning. I was actually born at the spring equinox. It's always an exciting time, not because it's my birthday, but because I love spring. I literally do feel like I come into bloom again in the spring. Okay, which cards am I getting next? I'm going to get some of these Healers of the Earth Oracle cards. We've got Resilience, number 37. 2020 Vision. And Solar Power. And we're going to get some animal cards as well. This is the Animal Spirit deck by The Wild Unknown. And for you, we have Crocodile and we have the Phoenix. Okay, we will get more cards and charms as we go, part 2, but let's get into this. It's been a really long intro because of the confusion around the card titles. My apologies for that. We're starting out here with the Divine Empress in reverse, and what's really interesting is that your card that you chose from the row of piles was also the Empress. Now, the Empress is divine feminine energy. She's connected to the energy of creation, abundance, and it says here luxury, beauty, harmony, abundance, grace, fertility, love, and nature, and art as well is indicated. But of course, you know, whilst this is the focus, divine feminine energy and your Empress power, what we're seeing here is at the moment you are in distorted Empress or distorted feminine energy. It's clarified by the 2 of Wands in reverse, and this is an energy that is now keeping you stuck. You may feel that you're at a crossroads in your life where you need to make a really important decision and you feel disabled from doing that. You're not getting a hit, you know, allowing you to recognize which direction is the right one. And so you may feel in this uncomfortable limbo state and, you know, fork road, and you're just not sure where to move. we have this energy of the unseen coming through that follows this, that is also blocked or in reverse. And for me, the unseen represents the intangible nature of spirit. You know, all of this energy of knowing, faith, intuition, that sometimes is very hard to trust because our logical, you know, scientifically minded brains want everything to be spelled out, real, you know, evidence that we can hold, support and trust, because seeing is believing. This is asking you to trust in the unseen, and I do feel that it's largely your inability to tap into that is inhibiting you right now from moving forward. There is a missing piece to the puzzle for you right now, pile 2, because there's something that's just outside of your awareness that you're not paying attention to, because you can't verify it, because you're finding it difficult to trust it. And this is a bonus card in the deck. The Major Arcana normally only has 21 cards. This is a number 22, and of course 2 is also the energy of the High Priestess. Now I'm just going to quickly look in the book to see what the book says about this specific card. So it should come off the world. Here we go. I am you and you are me, one with all eternity. Look into the eye and tell me what it is you see. Oh, it rhymes. In the darkness, there is only endless possibility. From the place where we are held with love before reaching this physical realm, that dimension of truly infinite unconditional love, there lays your root and life source. In this place, there is no I. We dissolve, and therein lays ultimate ecstasy. If the unseen appears for you, this may be a good time to honor those other dimensions. The love swells around us and guides us daily if we listen. It's what fills our heart's desire and what silently pushes us home towards our true selves. It wants nothing more than our happiness. This is home. This is true love. The flower has wings instead of petals, and its roots are not tied to the earth, reminding us of the fluidity as the base of all energy. The only constant in life is change. All suffering comes from grasping. So in the unseen, we practice surrender. Let yourself fall into the loving arms of this colourful darkness. Its blood is your blood. Its magic is your magic. You are infinite, divine, and one. Beautiful, beautiful message there. So this is about really trusting in the unseen, about trusting in your spiritual nature. It's clarified by the King of Pentacles. And for me, this really reassures you of your potential for abundance, for stability. It's a very powerful message from the universe saying, look, this is going to work out. You know, you're already quite a stable person is what I'm hearing. The missing piece of the puzzle that's inhibiting you from unlocking all of your truest potential is contained within that divine spark of knowing that resides within you. There's a lot of similarities here with pile 1. And I feel that even though your circumstances are different, and actually you are perhaps not so deeply rooted in fear and anxiety as we found pile 1 was, that there will still be some very supportive and useful messages for you in pile 1. So it may be worth checking that out. There's also a message here about a divine counterpart or a relationship. You may have been thinking of moving away from that, of cutting it off, of you know, ignoring it or leaving it behind you. There's a powerful message here that that is not an option. You know, you just need to trust in this divine flow of energy. It's going to move out of stormy waters into calmer waters, all of its own volition. This relationship is here to transform you, and you are guided to simply stand in your divine feminine power so that you can continue co-creating the life you want for yourself and the abundant, healthy, happy relationships that are available to you. You're a very blessed person. I wouldn't be surprised if you're a manifestor or manifesting generator. Check out the Jovian archives and your human design. Have a look, because it feels to me like, because you were built to manifest, you were built to create, it's always going to feel that much easier for you. And you may find that you are the kind of person that just always seemingly lands on their feet. People may perceive you as lucky or blessed, and even though you face challenges and ups and downs like everyone else, you just have this habit of landing on your feet. Overall, you tend to have a fairly positive mindset, which supports this, and of course also, you know, supports this natural build is the word I'm hearing. You are almost built to manifest, and you just need to realign yourself with it. But you must stop running away. Stop running away from this connection. It's your logical reasoning that's telling you that this can't work, but this isn't a logical connection. It's a divine connection that's been brought forward to transform and inspire your awakening, your ascension, your evolution and growth. There is a tremendous amount of inner conflict between you and this person. I'm hearing it's because you don't trust them. The fox shows up here in this Five of Swords, and this is a card and energy that is normally associated with conflict, and usually quite vicious conflict. But what we're seeing here is that the fox, you know, is kind of moving up the hill with this stick in its mouth, and then we have this naked lady, vulnerable, seemingly stuck in the mud. Can you see there that her feet are kind of stuck here in these dark pools, and the fox seems to have it easy and just seems to rise and rise and everything goes right. You may have been led to believe as well, relationships aside, that, you know, people that have an agenda, you know, that are smart alecks and manipulative and clever and shrewd, they always seem to get the better end of the deal. There's a lot of inner conflict as well as relationship conflict here about how to apply yourself and your power to the world around you. And there's a limiting belief connected to good people never get what they want. You know, doing the right thing doesn't always yield the results we want. Sometimes we have to play dirty, or sometimes we have to cut corners or trample on people. I do think you have a history of working in environments where that is normal. It's the status quo, and it does challenge your ethical principles, but there's also, you know, a little part of you that's kind of accepted it and rolled with it. So for some of you, this card indicates that you may be at a point in your life where you're really questioning that and learning to rise above it. This limiting belief that, you know, the shrewd fox that isn't always honest seems to always do better. You know, it's also, from a relationship perspective, about this feeling of the person that seems to control their truth, the person that plays it cool, doesn't tell us how they feel, maintains a bit of mystery and strategy, and has all of this self-control not to just, you know, sink deeply into the relationship, seems to hold all the power. You know, we convince ourselves that being emotional and true and real is actually a vulnerability or a weakness, you know, because it makes us look desperate, or it makes us look needy, or it, you know, it makes us looks less attractive. Lots of limiting beliefs here against the energy of truth, integrity, love and light, versus the energy of inauthenticity, shrewdness, strategy, you know, being clever, smart, keeping your cards close to your chest. And so you may look at your person and you perceive them as ascending higher, of being more in control, or of having the easier journey in this relationship because they don't feel vulnerable and naked as you are. You know, you wear your heart on your sleeve. And you really try hard to restrain yourself from doing that. The universe is saying this is your strength. This is where your power to transform is. You know, you don't have to face pain. And look at this Ten of Swords. Again, we see the same naked lady, but she's leaping from this little stepping stone of light and facing all of those triggers. You know, the Ten of Swords, we normally see someone on the floor with knives in their back. This is someone bravely facing the shadow aspects that are being illuminated by the divine. Thunderbolts are always those unexpected sources of light from the universe, and using all of that beautiful loving light and energy to springboard forward, you know, spring into their healing. This is about facing your triggers. You know, your blind spot is that you perceive your person as being more controlled than you and therefore more powerful. But this relationship that you're in isn't about control. And I say relationship you're in, I feel there's a separation there now, which you may have created or they've created, but you're kind of in this in-between stage of, I'm not going to pursue them anymore, I'm checking out, I've had enough, I'm so tired, I'm so impatient. It's okay to feel that way, but you're being asked not to be rash and to recognize the power you have. You need to face your own shadow aspect, you know, because all of these beliefs you have about this person are completely distorted. There is so much more power in authenticity. In fact, it's our authenticity that liberates us, but we have to feel secure and safe in ourselves enough to express it. There is something quite incredibly attractive about the person that says, yeah, I think you're sexy, and what? And the reason that's attractive is because they are not fearing rejection when they make that statement. They feel so confident in their truth and themselves, and they already have enough that they can be authentic. They can allow themselves to be vulnerable. That's real strength, and that's real power. You know, this old 3D paradigm of playing it cool, following the rules, don't text them if they've not texted you, all of this stuff, this strategy, that's false power. That's not real power. And people that need to do that are actually way more vulnerable and less powerful, because they have to play that game in order to feel safe. You know, and actually people make decisions based on the information they have. So when we're playing it cool, what we're doing is we're trying to lure someone closer to us by making them feel insecure, and by making them feel like, you know, we are powerful and interesting, and we're trying to use this push-pull game and strategy to get them closer. It's not authentic, it's not real. You know, and it may seem effective in this usual 3D paradigm. I know the youth of today love this game. You know, the more time has gone on, the more people focus on this game, playing it cool, you know, all the dating etiquette. It doesn't serve you. You're being asked to rise above it. You're being asked to face those shadows and grow within that experience. Now, the Flower of Thunder, the Queen of Swords in reverse. This is a shadow aspect you really need to pay attention to, because for all of your love and light and your beautiful, true and big heart, you have a very sharp tongue, pile 2, and you're being asked to understand how you have unwittingly also created conflict, confusion, and also, I want to say, hurt and rejection of your own in this connection. You have also rejected. You know, when someone's not treated you right, you're like, well, I'm going to stick the knife in two. I'm going to block you. You know, you reject me, you don't treat me how I want, I reject you back. And that just perpetuates this really unhealthy cycle. You have a very distorted throat chakra. And because there's no balance there, when it comes to communication, if you lose your cool and you lose your footing and emotional balance, you have a tendency towards reacting with vindictiveness. And that's the exact thing that you really dislike about this person. Can you see how you're really mirroring each other in that respect? You're being asked to take your power back and recognize your responsibility. And look, I've just noticed this down here, this blue flame that emanates from this Magician card. Blue is the color of the throat. You know, when we bring our throat chakra, which is essentially connected to authenticity, the throat chakra becomes distorted when we communicate from a place that isn't true, because it confuses the balance of energy there. It's not what was meant to flow through us. It means that fear has dictated what we're expressing instead of our true authentic self. And the sun's just gone in, as I've said that. A cloud has just passed. You would have noticed the light change on the table. The sun has just gone in. You know, that's the energy that puts us back in the dark when we allow fear to dictate how we communicate. Someone that plays games is operating from the perspective of fear. Because they don't want to be rejected, they're playing a game to make sure that doesn't happen. They're actually protecting their insecurity. It is not strength. It is definitely not true control or power, you know, and you mustn't fall into that pit. You mustn't get drawn into playing this game. You're being asked to embody the truth. And even as I say this, I can see this cloud moving and the light coming back. Look at this beautifully transformative energy in this Four of Wands. You know, the Four of Wands is about celebration and unity. But as you can see, this isn't a union of two people. This is a union of self. This is someone inviting their power. Look, pulling their wings down to themselves so that they can soar. Beautiful, beautiful energy. You know, you do need to focus on yourself right now. You're not being asked to dive into this relationship head first, but neither should you be running away from it or blocking it. That is not the answer. If you feel the need to do that, you need to recognize you're trying to punish this person for not giving you what you want. Yeah, well, I'll show them I don't care either. You reject me, I'll reject you twice as hard. That's this energy. You know, you stab me, I'll stab you back. You know, when someone triggers you or hurts you, in many respects, it's a gift, because in that feeling of pain, we find a wound that already existed within us. A healthy person who isn't wounded and doesn't have an abandonment or rejection wound wouldn't feel that same discomfort when someone rejects them. They don't make it about themselves. They would, if someone ghosted a healthy person, they just think, wow, that person's got no manners. Okay, moving on. They wouldn't dwell in it. They wouldn't feel all vindictive and resentful, because they have enough self-love. They have enough self-confidence to not take those things personally. To realize it's not about them, that someone else's inability to show up in a healthy, mature and loving way is not their fault. It's the other person who hasn't evolved to be able to show up in that way. And so you're being asked to not fall into that pit and become that. You're being asked to rise above it and recognize your power and strength to actually be in truth. That's your goal. This is the energy you're intending to manifest. And we have the Ace of Swords here. And it's interesting how these two cards connect. Do you know what? For all my grumblings about this deck in the beginning and its changing of the titles in the courts and the swords, it is a beautiful deck, and I love the images here. It's so interesting. But you can see that little chunk of the rainbow there that's present in the Ten of Swords is missing here. You see that? So interesting. Now, the Ace of Swords is about truth, and we can see there's a piece of that puzzle missing. You think you know the truth, you think you're being authentic, but you're being asked to pay attention to the triggers that your shadow aspects are feeling, the truth that's being illuminated through your experience. This is what allows you to have a new beginning. And what a powerful image we have here for the Fool. This is about being in the water. It's when we go deep into our emotional body and allow ourselves to align with the emotional truth, to face the dark, that's buried deeply, that we actually connect with the energy of hope and optimism and have that new beginning. The Fool is everything and nothing all at once. The Fool is able to take that leap of faith because he trusts the universe will catch him. He's not controlled by his wounding in his past. He's a representation of purity, innocence, that beautiful, joyful, childlike state we all have when we're kids. How children just trust everything. They don't act with fear. They act with real authenticity. That's why they say what they really think. And they don't always have filters that allow them to be sensitive to other people's feelings, but at least we know they are true and real. And this is the energy you're being asked to step into. But first, you've got to get past these deep layers of emotional pain, and really bring that back into balance so that you can reconnect with your truth. There is a lot of fear that inhibits you from being true and authentic. And these are your blind spots, pile 2, that you're not acknowledging about yourself. You're very impatient with this person and that things aren't moving in the direction you want them to. But your blind spots are that you're not acknowledging your own shadow aspects and how they actually perpetuate that cycle. And all of this guidance is already in your own dear heart. You need to bring this Empress back into balance so that you can make healthy and appropriate decisions and use that intuition to continue developing security, stability, abundance, faith, optimism is all available to you. Conclusions are within reach. Full moon eclipse. I'm not sure when the next full moon eclipse is, but I feel it's a significant time for you that will indicate when a lot of your answers that maybe you already know but can't trust will become clear. So look at when the next full moon eclipse is coming. That's really significant to you. And also the new moon is a significant time. It's a new start. It's an opportunity for you to start this cycle over and do it right this time. But in order to do that, you have to be able to reflect on where you took the wrong turn, on where you were misguided, on where you can make improvements and do things better on the next cycle through. Life really is like a spiral. We do go around in circles. The difference is that like the spiral, it's more expansive on every turn. Resilience, endurance, perseverance. This is what I was saying about not running away from this connection. Yes, it's raining. Yes, you feel overwhelmed. Yes, you may be in the deep, but this is a cold energy as well. I'm getting this feeling of being left out in the cold and how hard it is to keep going through this. But resilience and perseverance, this is about guiding you forward. And the numbers on this, 3 and 7. 3 is the number of the Empress. 7 is the number of divinity. This is about trusting in the forward momentum. 2020 vision. Now, I'll never understand why the creator of this deck uses the year 2020 in so many cards. I know that's when it was created, but it obviously doesn't support the deck in being very timeless. But I think it's significant here. 2020 is also the number of judgment or awakening. You know, it's not just the number of a year that's happened, and that was the year of the pandemic. But I feel for you, it may have been a significant year in awakening, because it says wisdom, visionary ability, and goodwill. So you may have found that this is when you're, especially with the number 8 coming through here, that maybe you met a divine counterpart, or your psychic abilities came online. There was some kind of awakening, because as well, 2020 is that number of judgment and the soul being called back to consciousness. But I really feel like you need to realign with that vision. You've somehow come off track. And again, it feels like there's a contrast or a contradiction to this new state of being with your career, or where you apply yourself in a practical, material way. You know, there's some kind of contradicting energy there, which is also disrupting the balance. We've got solar power, vitality, warmth, and energy. For me, this is about tapping into your light, but this is also a very masculine energy. You're being asked to recognize that the soul is actually without gender. You know, the soul is both masculine and feminine. You know, we tend to be born into a gendered body and align with one or the other of those energies, regardless of the physical gender. But in truth, we have to master them both, whatever our biological gender is. You know, we have to balance the masculine and the feminine. And actually, when you're doing both at once, that's a very evolved state of being. You know, it's much easier to achieve balance when you're doing both at once. For most of us, we balance one side of the coin and then we work to the other. You know, that's how most people's journey goes. But for some, I feel, who have a very, shall we say, evolved soul, you know, they're juggling both of those energies at once. And this is what you're being asked to pay attention to. You know, I do feel that actually you are more firmly rooted in masculine energy. That doesn't mean you're a man. So women can have masculine energy. It just means that you are by nature a provider, a protector, a manifester. You know, you may be very career focused, very independent, and you know, you take more responsibility for caring for others than you allow people to care for you. You know, that typical masculine role of provision and protection. But there is vitality, warmth, and energy in that. You just need to bring it back into balance, because the shadow aspect of the masculine is that pursuing gain in unethical ways. You know, the masculine values their own financial stability, provision, protection, and will often ignore the heart, which is the place where we have conscience, integrity, empathy, in favor of getting what it needs to meet its material needs. So this is a part of you that you also need to focus on and bring yourself into balance. I feel like balancing masculine energy feels more natural to you than balancing female, which is perhaps why the Empress is coming out front and center to remind you to connect with that state of grace, to remind you that the Empress energy, you know, it may not feel as productive as the very doing, action-oriented masculine energy, because the Empress creates just by being. She is receptive. She doesn't go out there and build, she just receives. And so you're being asked to recognize that when you balance both of these energies, you know, you really are on the receiving end of true abundance and a more harmonious state of being. The energy that comes for you here is also the crocodile. Now, the crocodile is a very maternal energy. Crocodiles are excellent mothers, believe it or not. Most people see them as quite fierce creatures, and indeed they are, but they are also fabulous mothers. And there's a message here about mothering yourself. And I feel the reason you had to be in masculine energy is probably because you had a mother that wasn't able to support that. You know, maybe an absent father, and you had to be that kind of stronger person, or you had to be the caregiver for your parent, you know, and maybe not at a material or monetary level. But if we have a parent that, you know, let's say, for example, they're always really stressed and anxious, and so we'll think, I'm not going to ask mum to help me with this or to support me with that because she's having a really bad day. You know, that's very dysfunctional. When a child has to think about their parents' needs instead of getting their own needs met, that's a real distortion of the natural balance. Our parents are supposed to give to us. A child shouldn't be burdened by their parents' needs Obviously, we should be taught to be conscientious and considerate, but when you have a parent that you're constantly, you know, worrying about them and not seeking the support or guidance you need, of having to be more independent because your parent can't really support you, this is when you can step into that masculine role and, you know, become someone that takes care of other people, but was never taught to take care of themselves because no one took care of you. So there's a mother wound here. You know, you'll be, and I say this as well because this is really dark energy. You know, the only bit of color illuminating the crocodile is the green and yellow, which is heart, the heart chakra, and the solar plexus connected to that trigger center. So there's definitely a deep mother wound here that needs to be paid attention to. But we also have the phoenix, the rising of the phoenix, the rising from the ashes, you know, growing through this family dysfunction and trauma, using that triggering energy to allow it to elevate you. Triggers come through very strong in this, and I feel this is your greatest weakness right now, Partu, because you resent triggers. You hate being triggered. You hate the way it disturbs your peace of mind and your ability to remain stable. But triggers are a gift. They're showing us where we need to heal. The divine feminine energy is receptive to that emotional movement and learns how to bring it back into balance and love themselves. And the Empress is also a mother. You know, it's the energy of maternal power and fertility. So, you know, you have to be your own parent. This is another message that came through in part 1 that's relevant to you. Once we grow up and become adults, there's no sense trying to change our parents or wish they'd done it differently or beating them up for having been so shit. At that age, you know, we've flown the nest. We have to strengthen our own wings and make up for all the weaknesses that our parents inadvertently created within us. They can't do that for us anymore once we've flown the nest. That becomes our job. And so there's a message here as well that you need to stop, you know, focusing on the resentment or resistance to acknowledging that you are now responsible for mothering yourself. This is a part of yourself that you really need to heal, the mother wound. So let's get some guidance cards for you as well. I feel really guided to get more tarot cards, which honestly with this deck I'm a bit nervous about in case any more pop up that I don't know. But we've already established Thunder is sword, so it's just, I know that Harvest is king, Flower is queen, I think Root was the knight, I can't remember what the other one was. I'm telling you, it's confusing. Please, tarot creators, just don't mess around with it too much. At least keep the court names, you know, obvious. Right, okay. 6 of Wands. That's a beautiful start. 8 of Wands. What fabulous energies for you, Partu. The Root of Thunder. I think that's the Knight. I'm going to double check it. So that would be the Knight of Swords in reverse. The 7 of Wands. And the 4 of Swords in reverse. Let's just get some Oracle cards here as well for guidance. We're going to get some charms as well. Okay, we've got Receiving. Masculine energy is giving, it's not receiving. This is where one of your imbalances is. We have courage, we have expansiveness, and we have delusion. And I feel like we need to get some Keeper of the Light cards as well. Maybe another animal card. The Holy Spirit, expect miracles. Krishna, devotion. And one more. Kuan Yin. I love Kuan Yin. Care and compassion. Okay, let's get some charms as well. We are going to take this over to the extended soon. Okay. Okay. Oh, I never know what chakra that is. I think it's the crown. And we have a crown there as well, so that's interesting. Oh, I love that this has come through. Do you know, I was wearing this morning and felt really guided to put this in my bowl. This is a ring that ASO Tarot sent me. Madison from ASO Tarot. I love you, Madison, if you're watching this. Thank you for this beautiful ring. And it features the symbol of the bee. I was wearing it this morning and felt really guided to put it in my charm bowl. I knew it would come out at some point, and lo and behold, here it is. The bee is about collective consciousness. It's about collective work, working together, the busy bee. I love that this has come through for you. Keep going, keep growing. The Pentacle, and the Stethoscope. Okay, so guidance for you, pile 2. The 6 of Wands, trust in triumph. But this features an eagle And the eagle is a symbolic representation of spiritual communication and receptivity to spiritual communication, because the eagle soars so high with such perfect balance and control. It is connected to both the heavens and the earth, and so it's seen as that messenger of spirit. You're being asked to pay attention to the loving power and energy available to you through your intuition. Again, this is the link with part 1, you know, that you need to connect your Empress energy and your power to receive your intuition through the emotional body. Remember, masculine energy leans out of the emotional body because it doesn't feel comfortable for masculine energy. Divine feminine energy embodies the emotional experience. It embraces it. It's so natural. And we have to remember that our intuition flows through the emotional body. So when we lean out of the emotions, we're also leaning out of our own inner guidance and our wisdom and our truth. You're being reminded here that in order to be successful, triumphant, victorious, you need to reconnect yourself to your divine wisdom and guidance. And that will happen really quickly for you. We've got the 8 of Wands here, which is about swift movement, you know, rapid fire change. I'm just going to check the root again quickly. I'm pretty certain it's the Knight, but just to make sure. Yeah, it's the Knight of Swords. Now, this is interesting because it's front and center. Remember, a big chunk of this reading was focused on the energy of authenticity and truth and what that really means. And again, we see another bird in the sky, although I believe this is a seagull. I'm not sure of the symbology of seagull, but I do think that they're a creature that goes where sustenance is. You know, they can come very far inland, even though they're typically associated with sea areas, but they're quite scavenger type creatures. They're always looking for what they need. But the Knight of Swords is about movement and truth. And it's also about truthful communication. So this is the blockage you need to address. And actually, you know, where it's coming up over those relationship cards that popped up for you as well, that 4 of Wands and the blockages that exist there, you know, this is one of the, if you resolve and restore your authentic nature, this is where you're going to find the most movement in coming forward. The 7 of Wands is about healthier boundaries. But actually, I love how it's depicted in this card because she's got this beautiful fire around her. She's still naked and vulnerable, but look how she's actually stood in the dark, creating her own light, her own optimism. You can see the night sky in the background, but there's this darkness around her, so she started this fire. So even though we associate it with boundaries as well, or sometimes being too defensive, for me, this is about reminding you of your power to create light wherever you stand. Even when you're in the dark, you know, to remember that you always have the power to protect yourself. The 4 of Swords in reverse is allowing yourself the time and space to recover. One of your responses to trauma is to distract yourself and keep very busy, and you're being asked to really focus on bringing that back into balance. You know, in order to love yourself and heal, you need to create time for that to happen. Receiving. Every day it becomes easier to receive the highest divine plan and to trust my inner guidance. And look, you know, you see that eagle again, soaring, the water, the sun, that solar power that came through, all of that blue connected to truth and throat chakra. Allow yourself to receive. Let me be open to courageously taking the steps that are shown, you know, trusting in your intuition. Expansiveness. Eternity is far more creative than the rigid, constrained and exhausted ego. You know, this is about understanding that we can't control everything and we shouldn't try to. Divine feminine energy doesn't succeed by asserting control. She succeeds by trusting in her power to co-create through her loving heart everything she needs. She doesn't take action. She doesn't build anything physically. She just trusts and sits in that energy of trust. You know, allow yourself to expand. Eternity is far more creative than the rigid, constrained and exhausted ego. That's the masculine part of yourself that feels the need to put brick upon brick and do it themselves. Delusion. Intention without surrender can be a fast path to delusion. Okay, this is a difficult message for you parts here. You might be triggered by it, but you need to pay attention. I say this with the best intention. You are so good at leaning out of your emotional body that you have convinced yourself you've let go of your counterpart, that you no longer care, and that you are in a state of surrender. And actually, that's not what's happened. What you've done is lean out of your emotional body so you no longer feel that uncomfortable longing. Delusion. You know, intention without surrender is a fast path to delusion. Being connected to your emotional body is your superpower. The goal to it is to be balanced in it, not to disconnect from it. Sometimes we get so good at controlling our state of being through the practice of meditation that we can lean out of the discomfort long enough to convince ourselves it's not there and we don't care. You know, that's a very masculine trait. This is what you're doing. You have not surrendered. Surrendered is acceptance. Non-acceptance is what causes us to actually detach in, in the way that you have. You know, I don't care. I'm going to leave them. I'm not bothered. You know, it's a false sense of inner security. You need to address that. The Holy Spirit, expect miracles. Remember that only love is real. Miracles will occur naturally and Spirit has your back. I feel like you needed to see this card. I don't know what about it you needed to see. I'm going to bring it up close so you can get a better look. Look, the eagle is there again. The cup represents self-love. And, you know, they are surrendering with their hands, their palms facing forward there. Krishna, devotion, trust your spiritual guidance. Your commitment has been recognized and you are loved unconditionally. You know, this is about committing and devoting yourself to your own spiritual inner truth, to giving yourself the care and compassion you need with Kuan Yin. Choose to be love. Do what is right for everyone involved and offer a helping hand. Remember the messages that came through about ethics in your work life and working in congruence with your truth. You know, this is where you need to create more balance in your life. The crown comes out twice. Again, that's about connecting to your spiritual power and source. If you're not plugged in, you can't receive it. And I want you to think of it as a power source that's available to you. You know, if it's there, why wouldn't you use it? It's nonsensical. It's like being starving hungry and ignoring the food that's on the plate. You know, connect, allow yourself to connect and receive. Listen carefully to the inner guidance that's being presented. Sometimes you only hear what you want to hear and you ignore the vital guidance that makes you uncomfortable. You are divinely protected and safe. It's safe for you to be authentic and true. Keep going and keep growing. You know, in order to keep growing, we have to face our shadow aspect and continue bringing it back into balance, thus really nourishing our ability to grow and bloom in light. And finally, the collective consciousness. You know, remember you're part of a bigger picture. You're part of a group, a light army, a powerful collective of people that are all growing alongside you. You are not alone. Beautiful message here. Okay, part 2. I'm going to take this over to the extended. We're going to go deeper. I want to look more at this relationship and look at the dysfunction in it. I want to get more practical guidance in how you can move forward and transcend all of these difficulties and the blind spots you're experiencing. If this resonated for you and you want to follow me to there, the link is in the description box below. In the meantime, keep a close eye on my community page. I'm going to be doing a fabulous live with K Moon. If you haven't checked out her channel, she is a twin flame channel and astrologer. Please do. I'm going to stick the links in the description box below. But watch this space because there's going to be an impromptu live with K Moon and I talking about twin flame astrology. I can't wait to see you there. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you for the very kind and considerate and generous souls that took the time to watch my commercials and adverts as well. That really helps my channel to grow. It's a perfect energy exchange, your time for mine, and I appreciate it so much. Don't forget to subscribe, but don't forget to hit the like button so we can be friends and I can see you again. I will see you next time. Bye. Hello, Pile 3. Welcome to your reading. You have chosen the citrine. We're using the Forest of Enby Tarot and we are asking today, what are the messages that you need the most? We're leaving as much room as possible even, for Spirit to bring through the messages that you really need to hear. Now, if you skipped the intro today, if you can spare a moment, please pop back and watch, because I did do a very short prayer, which I'd like you to take part in if you're able, for the Ukraine, to help support the situation there and hopefully manifest a better outcome for all concerned. The more of us hold the same intention and work together to drive light to these really difficult situations, the better. So if you can spare a moment to pop back and do that, I'm sure that those out there that are in need will very, very much appreciate it. But thank you for being here. Let's get started and do this. I'm very excited to be back. I really am pumped at the moment with these readings. It's a good feeling. It's been so long since it flowed from me in the way it is for this video. And thank you for still being here. I know that I've been away for a really long time. Alas, I'm back. Whoa. Okay. So we're using the Forest of Enby Tarot by Binks Olsen. This is such a cute deck. There's a link for it in the description box below. We will be using the Oracle cards. We'll be drawing charms as well to get all the insight. And there will be an extended reading today. So if this resonates for you, you can always find the link to that in the description box below. So let's do this. Let's see what's coming through for you, pile 3. Oh, got some fluff stuck to my nail. Oh, I've chipped a nail. That sucks. Okay, right. I hope you like my crystal grid as well. I actually chose these crystals just for our Ukraine prayer. They're all hold the qualities of protection and compassion and love and the elimination of fear. Such a pretty one. I do love my crystal grids. Okay, pile 3. Let's see what Spirit wants to say to you. We have got the 9 of Cups. Beautiful cards. The sun's really shining for you today. This one is the Ace of Cups in reverse. The 8 of Swords in reverse. The Magician. And the 3 of Wands. And clarifying this, we've got the 8 of Cups in reverse. That's interesting. The Knight of Cups in reverse. The Sage, which I believe is the Page. I'm going to check that in a minute. The Strength card. And the Ace of Wands. So let's get some Oracle cards as well. I'm just going to... That's the book. What's the Sage? Is it the Page? No, the Sage is actually the Queen. So that's the Queen of Cups, Cancerian energy. Okay, let's get some Oracle cards. I'm going to start with the Moonology Oracle. Just move these up slightly. I have to say, sunshine and blue skies and spring being upon us, what a beautiful relief. It's so nice, isn't it, to be moving into spring? I was born in spring, first day of spring, and I always feel reborn at this time of year. It's just beautiful. Okay, be bold and make the first move, Cardinal Moon. Don't let your past hold you back, South Node. And let's get some of these Healers of the Earth cards as well. The Law of Balance. Round and Round. And Tea of Transformation. And I forgot to ask you, you can ask for a sign. Most of you that watch my readings regularly have probably already done that, but a sign is just asking the universe, you know, to give you a really obvious visual or verbal sign that, you know, the message is contained within and meant for you, or to draw your attention to a specific aspect of the reading. And there's no right or wrong sign. It could be an animal, an object, a song, a place, a name, a god, goddess or deity, whatever works for you. But let's get from the animal spirit cards. We have got the Swan and the Fox. Beautiful. Okay, I'm going to start with the card that you actually chose for your pile, which is Justice. And justice is about bringing things into balance. It's also about karmic resolution. It's about addressing everything that is out of alignment in our life. You can see here as well that she holds the sword, which is representative of truth and authenticity. It can often indicate court cases and legal matters. It says here balance and equality. But in this case, especially given the Nine of Cups card come out alongside this, I do feel that this is more powerfully associated with your personal journey than a literal matter, such as a court case. But let's start with the Nine of Cups clarified by the Eight of Cups in reverse. The first thing that I'm really getting about your energy pile 3 is that you're actually quite an evolved human being. You've been on the healing path for some time. You've developed a very stable sense of self through a great deal of healing practice and introspection. However, the message here for you is that healing is never done. It's an ongoing process, and that we're constantly being called back to ourselves to review everything from the higher perspective that we've attained through that healing practice. It feels like you have become a victim of your own success in many respects, because having learned how to regulate your emotional body, that has also given you the power to kind of avoid the more uncomfortable feelings and emotions that sometimes transpire. And so, you know, when they come up, rather than honoring them and sitting with them and processing them, because you know how to get above them and just carry on and feel good, you have a tendency towards leaving a lot of stuff unresolved. I want to reassure you this is a really common process that, you know, ascending people go through, because it is so magical and empowering to realize that you can observe your feelings, or even kind of, you know, lean out of them so that you don't have to be uncomfortable. But you're about to move through a very necessary cycle in your life. And it's a going round and round energy, as we're seeing here with this merry-go-round. But you have to remember that life is like the spiral. You know, even though we go round and round, every turn is more expansive than the one before. Our perspective is different. It's more grown, and we're able to navigate it, you know, with a completely different understanding and taking from it completely different lessons than what we could have perceived on the previous round. So the Eight of Cups is always about coming back to yourself. It's about introspection. And in your case as well, we have the Ace of Cups here in reverse, clarified by the Knight of Cups in reverse. The Knight of Cups, when it comes up in reverse, is indicative of, I guess, the inability to cross over into the depths of your own emotional body. And the Ace of Cups in reverse shows us that there is a fallout at the moment, you know, that you may have found because you've deliberately avoided your emotional body and all of the discomfort there for some time, and gotten really good at just kind of sailing through on this, you know, nice little bliss state that you've achieved through your healing practice. It has slowly begun to drain you. And so when the Ace of Cups comes up in reverse, we see all the water pouring out and it cannot be contained. And that's a very fluid emotional body that's, you know, moving in the wrong direction. And so you may feel that this sort of going around in circles has moved you backwards. You may feel like, you know, you've taken 10 steps forward and 20 steps back, but that's really not the case. And it's not that you've done anything wrong either. You know, Spirit isn't bringing these things to your attention so it can beat you up and saying, oh, you know, you did that wrong, because there is no right and wrong. You know, everything we do, whether with, you know, a conscious awareness, or whether by accident, or whether by, you know, just not having access to all the information, everything we do, every decision we make is always the right one. We have this tendency to assume that if we don't get the outcome we want, that we chose wrong. And that's simply not true. You know, if that were true, it would assume that we're never supposed to experience challenge, dysfunction, crisis, or suffering again. And that's really not what life is. So you must not let this cause you to question your own truth, or cause you to lose faith in your own ability to discern what's right for you. Sometimes what's right for us is challenge. Sometimes what's right for us is to find ourselves going through the same stuff again, having unwittingly driven ourselves down that path once more. And so you are always meant to have this experience again. You know, you're basically being asked, to revisit the same practices you had before, but to expand on the knowledge you've already gathered so that you can begin to move through this with even more grace and dignity than you did the first time. You will rise out of this. When the Eight of Swords in reverse, it indicates that you have a lot of very limiting beliefs, you know, that inhibit you from actually continuing with that expansion. You know, you may have reached a conclusion that you've already done your healing and that work's done, or you may be feeling resentful that there's more. The Queen of Cups clarifying this really reassures you that you have reached a state of massive emotional maturity. You know, you are a very evolved person, and you must stop beating yourself up for not being where you perceive you should be. You're exactly where you're meant to be is the message here. And this really is all about your own growth. We have the Magician clarified by strength. You know, this is the universe reminding you that you have all the skills and the tools you need to get through this, and not just to get through it, but to be strong as you move through it. You know, you've already done most of the hardest work by dragging yourself out of the gutter into a place of balance. You know, this temporary wobble or turbulence that you're experiencing was always going to happen, because it's I'm trying to think how to explain this. You know, when we train really hard, the real test of our strength and our stamina and our improvement is to run the marathon. You know, we can't know until we actually get out there and start training and trying to reach certain objectives how far we have really come. And so you may find that you've fallen down at one of the hurdles and you didn't expect that. But this is Spirit reminding you that you are incredibly strong and that you do have the power to get up again. I love this Strength card because it actually features a sheep with this kind of lion's rug over its head, and it's holding these two spears. I think the light is a bit shit today because the sun's so bright. Hopefully you can see this card. To check if it's focusing. There we go. So you can see that this sheep is actually dressed in lion's clothing, and this is a real kind of fake it till you make it energy as well. But it makes me feel like sometimes you feel like an imposter, you know, that you walk around feeling strong and invincible, and then you have these vulnerable moments and think, God, I'm such a fake, you know, I don't really have this strength, you know, I've worked so hard and I'm still not where I need to be. And you really are very, very hard on yourself. You know, Spirit is coming through today to say, trust in your progress, trust in your growth. There's an important message here as well to stop comparing yourself to other people. You know, no one's journey is the same, and it's so futile to look at others and think, oh, I should be there, or they've done more, or I'm doing it wrong. It just doesn't serve you. You really do have all the skills and tools you need to move out of this stressful energy. And I'm seeing here this little magician has a wand, which really is a nod towards that power to manifest with clear intention exactly what you need the most. The Three of Wands. The Three of Wands is all about fulfillment, and it's clarified by the Ace of Wands. And what I'm hearing is that because you started to feel that much better, your spiritual practice and all of the healing practices that had helped you rebuild yourself and find that strength again started to fall by the wayside, because you began to feel like, you know, I feel better now, maybe I don't need them. And so this is Spirit saying to you, you just need to get back on track, and you can feel fulfilled and abundant again. You may have noticed that during this phase where you've kind of been slowly descending rather than ascending, it's not the case that you've done anything wrong. It's just that you took your foot off the pedal and the vehicle started rolling backwards a bit. You know, and that needed to happen. That was part of your required experience and journey as you continue moving towards being the best version of yourself. So, you know, you mustn't, oh, I've just noticed the camera's blurry. It should auto adjust when we go back, but it didn't. Anyway, so yeah, you know, when we have the Three of Wands and the Ace of Wands, this is such a positive combination. The Three of Wands is about fulfillment, waiting for your ship to come in. You can see here that they have this telescope, and you know, they're watching the ship come in on the horizon. So the Ace of Wands is all about starting over, grasping the baton and allowing yourself to once more move in the direction of spirit. So this isn't so much about having to learn lots of new things in order to cope. It's about returning to a practice you already know and trusting that fulfillment is within reach once more. And sometimes starting again, like I said with the spiral, you know, allows us to review aspects of our growth, aspects of our practice that we couldn't have been aware of before because of, you know, how wide and expansive the circle was in that first round. So there's just a lot of reassurance here, and there's a lot of forgiveness required for yourself. I'm really intrigued that we have so much green on one side and so much of this lovely pinky orange on the other. Green, of course, is the colour of the heart chakra. And so, you know, all of the energies coming through here do very much connect to the emotional body. We have all of these cups. And on this side, as well as the major arcana, we have all of these wands. The Eight of Swords is the only card coming up that refers to the mental body, which is the limiting beliefs that hold you back from that continued emotional growth and expansion. And I'm hearing the primary limiting belief of yours is, I should have done enough. Why am I still having to do this? You know, a lot of people perceive healing in the same way they do therapy. I've had trauma, I'll go to therapy for 2 years, then I should get better and I can stop. But healing isn't really like that. It's an ongoing process that requires us to constantly be connected to and lovingly sustaining self. This logic, this very limiting belief that you have that seems very logical, well, you know, we go to the therapist, we get cured, and then we stop. Imagine if you took that attitude in a relationship. You know, I've spent 2 years nourishing this connection. Now I can just stop. You know, I've done that work. We understand that relationships are constantly evolving and require a continued investment in order that they can continue to grow and become stronger and more intimate and more loving. And healing is about the relationship with yourself. And so it's never going to come to an end because you're going to live with you and your consciousness for the rest of your life here on earth. And so it's not like going to see a therapist and getting cured and putting the trauma to bed. It's an ongoing process of taking care of yourself, of loving yourself, and continuing to grow in that loving relationship to self. There's an interesting couple of cards here that at first glance for me didn't seem to relate to the message here. And when I asked my guide Arthur, you know, why have they popped up and how do they relate? He said they don't. So my first instinct on that was right. But be bold and make the first move, and don't let your past hold you back with South Node. Now, if you don't know what your South Node sign is, I strongly recommend you look it up and investigate. The South Node in astrology represents the energy we're bringing with us from our previous incarnation, an energy we've already mastered. And of course, the North Node represents the energy that we're intending to master and move towards in this lifetime. But the South Node can reveal a lot of the shadow aspects that you've carried over. And in this case, they are definitely holding you back. This be bold and make the first move is actually connected to a relationship. And what I'm hearing is this is about authenticity. That was a message that came through really strong in one of the other piles today. I think it was pile 2. But, you know, I feel like this is that classic example of it's that person's turn to make the first move. You know, I've put myself out there. It's their turn to do some of the running, or, you know, I need them to reciprocate and show me, and I don't want to, you know, put myself out there or face rejection, or there's just some very limiting beliefs around the necessary etiquette when it comes to communication and exchange in relationships. You may not have spoken to this person for a very, very long time, and it feels like it's been leaning in heavy on you and encouraging you to kind of reach out. You've probably noticed the signs from the universe. Maybe one's popped up in your reading today that keeps reminding you of this person. It keeps nudging you in that direction. And so far you have resisted taking that action, is what I'm hearing. And it is something to do with your past. And because this is the South Node, it may not even be your past trauma in this life. This may be connected to trauma you've had over many, many lifetimes, but it's necessary right now to communicate with this person. And I'm hearing it's a bit of a standoff because they also have this same energy in which they're like, I'm not making the first move, you know, they can make the first move. And so that fear of rejection, the fear of being the one who looks desperate or needy, or the fear of, you know, losing control in the connection by playing it cool is what is holding you back from this. And you don't just need to take the action and make the first move, but you need to reflect on your past self, both in this lifetime and previous incarnations, so that you can get to the root of why you still exist in this fear. Authenticity is always the most liberating and beautiful way forward. To learn to be authentic is true strength. You know, playing it cool isn't strong. It's protecting ourselves because we feel vulnerable and we don't want to get rejected. That's not real strength. That's hiding. That's not living your truth because you're scared to. And so authenticity is about just doing what feels right without fear. And even if there is fear, facing the fear and resolving it rather than allowing it to inhibit us from doing what we feel compelled to do. I feel like this impulse has been strong in you and you've resisted it because of that fear and anxiety that bubbles up within you. We have the law of balance here, and it says harmony, equity, and avoiding extremes. It's the number 66, which are the numbers of love. Combined, it's the number 12, the energy of the hanged man and surrender. And 12 reduces to 3, the number of the divine empress. You are being reminded that it's always about returning to balance, and running and chasing is not balanced. When you're avoiding communication and refusing to step forward, you are running. You know, when you're leaning in and pushing with too much communication, you are chasing. And actually, both of those energies, runner and chaser, aren't necessarily just doing things. You know, just because we don't physically take actions towards chasing someone doesn't mean we're not in chasing energy, and vice versa with the running. But right now, both you and your partner or this person, you are both in running energy. You're both in avoidant energy, trying to protect yourselves. I've just been reading through my own community post this morning, and if you scroll back, and you will have to scroll back quite far, like several months, there is actually a post about runner and chaser energy, and I really strongly recommend you read that, because I think it will shed a lot of light on how you just need to bring those energies back to balance and stillness so you can avoid one or the other extremes. This law of balance card does feature the yin yang symbol, which for me perfectly emphasizes what we're trying to achieve. You know, we are both light and dark. You know, when we lean into the dark, we're avoidant. When we lean too far into the light, we're chasing and codependent. And so, you know, the goal is to be balanced in that energy, you know, to be neither one or the other, to just have equity. So this is something that you really need to focus on, because the state of alignment that your very evolved ascended state has actually achieved isn't as aligned as you would think. What you've essentially learned to do is lean out of your emotional body, and that's still a very, very evolved state of being, and a very, very shall we say, well-defined skill. But the goal is to be aligned in your emotional body and to let it flow, not to be a victim of your own power and control in that way, so you can lean out of it and avoid it when it suits you. The goal is always to be aligned in it so we can observe it and not sink in it, not to detach from it completely. And as I said, in that respect, you have been a victim of your own success. And I just want to reassure you, I went through that phase. You know, let me just turn my phone off, it shouldn't be on. I went through that phase for ages, and because you feel so empowered when you don't have to deal with all those yucky emotions. You know, existing is so comfortable and easy and wonderful when you're not having to you know, constantly face that flowing emotional deep energy. And so, you know, you mustn't beat yourself up. And the message here, that if you can control yourself by pulling your energy out of the mental body and emotional body, then you can definitely control yourself and pull yourself back into alignment. This is going to be a really swift change for you that's going to help you with this learning cycle. And as I said, you're meant to be going around in circles at the moment. Number 5 is the number of the Hierophant. It's about higher learning and connecting our earthly knowledge to that of the heavens, of the source. And it says here, tea of transformation, healing, remedy, and positive change. And you can see this is also a number 5 and 1. So the energy of the magician coming through again about power. And we can see this door opening. And it's all green, which is, you know, like the cards here. Oh, it's really annoying me that the camera's not auto-focusing. That you can, you know, step into your own heart again and feel safe within that this transformation that you're going through is significant, important, and quite beautiful. You mustn't resist it. We've also got the Swan card, and I love this card. It's such a twinny image because we see that the swan is a mirror image of itself here, or a reflection of itself. Swans are never on their own. They're a powerful symbol of love because they mate for life, stick together for life, and it's very rare pardon me, it's very rare to see a swan on its own. Now, a message has just come through, even as I'm looking at this and was on a different track, just saying you need to remember that you are never alone, that reflection of you exists in another soul. And the blue and green here is reminding me of the connection to the truth in your heart and the faith that you already have a grasp of, but at the moment are struggling to integrate, because you've probably not spoken to this person for a very long time. And it seems very impossible that this could move forward to transform or become something more tangible and committed. And so the universe is saying, you know, you mustn't dwell in what is or isn't possible for the future. We can't really live in the future, and neither can we really ever know what's meant for us or what's going to happen. And so by sitting in this anxious fear of, you know, this is never going to happen, I need to give this up, I need to move on because I don't want to be on my own anymore, and I don't want to wait for this person, and it's all too much. You know, the truth you're being driven back to is that you are never alone. You know, if this person is your divine counterpart, then they are always with you. They are a mirror image of your soul that exists in the same time and space. And that physical union is quite unnecessary to be able to integrate the spiritual union. You know, when we wake up, whether as twin flames or otherwise, we're actually being drawn back to unity, to true consciousness. You know, when we are born into the human body, we're led to believe that we are separate. We've come from the energy of totality and unity to being in our own individual body, and our consciousness contained within this vehicle that makes us feel so separate to life and everybody in it. Awakening is the process of coming back to the truth that you are just love, that you are everything and anything all at once, and that you are never alone. You are always connected to that energy of love, and that it's in you. And the twin flame journey is very deliberate in teaching you this. Twin flames are very, very, very old souls. You've already had many incarnations as a whole soul. The fact that you've come back to life in this one and split in two demonstrates how advanced your soul's progress is, because now you're giving yourself this challenge of having to reunite your own truth at a conscious spiritual level, whilst disregarding the physical aspect which feels so real to us in this earthly present. And so this is why you'll hear readers talk about returning to yourself, stepping in your power. Separation is an illusion, because the spiritual concept of love is that it's in everything, primarily in you, and that we're not really separate from anything at all, including your twin. And so you reunite with your twin at a soul level, not necessarily a physical level. That doesn't mean you won't experience physical union. It means that it's not the be all and end all. It's not the objective or goal. But the universe is always conspiring to reunite your soul. And the only way back to that is through your own spiritual practice and that continued connection to self, which is why you have kind of fallen off the wagon and found yourself tumbling backwards, because you decided, I feel better now, I'm good, I can stop doing this and start leading a normal life and try and forget this. And you forgot that the twin flame journey is, we can't get off the train. You know, this is what we came here for. This is the primary mission which our soul, before it incarnated, intended to fulfill. And so it's okay to have a break and take some respite, but you mustn't labour under the illusion that you can just get off the train and put it behind you. If you're still feeling pained about the nature of your connection and the separation that exists, allow yourself to accept this as a symptom of you needing to continue reconnecting to self and find that loving sustenance within you. The fox comes through here to remind you that you do need a strategy. You know, the fox is all about being wise and shrewd in our approach to what needs to be achieved. And so I feel like it's really strange that came through actually. Maybe you suffer with ADHD. I don't know if that's true for you. It may not be for all of you. But my guides are saying you struggle with discipline and routine. And this is mainly why these really positive healing habits kind of fell by the wayside. If you've never attended my classes, you wouldn't have heard me say that actually most of my meditative practice doesn't happen in the most sacred space you imagine. It happens when I'm in the bathroom. And I have ADHD, so I know how challenging it is to maintain a disciplined routine. And the reason I do those, you know, little meditations and check-ins with myself when I'm in the bathroom is because then I can't make the excuse to myself that I haven't had time, because I always have bathroom time. By default of being a human being that needs to, should we say, release from our bodies at regular intervals. I can't think of a nice way to put that. By default of that, I have to go to the bathroom and take those moments of privacy at multiple times throughout the day. And that means during those times, I have a couple of minutes or maybe 3 or 4 to actually check in with myself, to breathe deep if it's not too smelly, and to find that point of balance within myself again. It's an opportunity to check in with myself and just return to my heart space. And I know it doesn't sound like a very sacred space in which to do it, but actually I have to say that those regular, frequent check-ins with self have been one of the most empowering steps I have taken, because it means I really learn to be very self-aware, because I'm constantly observing my energy. And, you know, between those bathroom breaks, something might have happened. And then when I come back, you know, a couple of hours later for that check-in, and I'm like, wow, my energy's really moved in the last 2 hours. You know, but now I have a chance to bring it back into balance rather than moving through the whole day and just getting further and further out of alignment and feeling worse and worse and worse. Meditative practice doesn't have to mean that you are always on your back for 30 minutes with your eyes shut in a dark room. Mindfulness is a state of being, and the goal is always to learn to carry it with us through our day, which is something that after years of practice I'm getting better and better at, and has continued to improve my ability to maintain that alignment even when I'm not meditating, but can still be mindful and connected to my higher truth. And this is a state you're now being asked to embody. This is your time to step up, to take all of that power, skill and knowledge that you already have, to recognize this strength and that you are not an imposter, that we have to tell ourselves with a lion in order to become it. You know, what we think and what we believe is what we create. So you're not an imposter. You know, the I am statement is a critical part of your growth. To say I am strong, even though you don't always feel it, is incredibly empowering and allows you to continue co-creating that exact state of being. So you must let go of this idea that I'm just a big fake. You know, I thought I'd woken up and fixed myself, but I haven't. You are not a fake. You are a very, very evolved and beautiful being, and you're on the right track, pile 3. You just need to now return to that disciplined state of practice, which was easy for you when you started because you had a buzz for it. It was all new. It was bringing you so much catharsis and respite. But as you felt better, it just kind of fell by the wayside. And now is the time to pull it all back to center. So let's get some guidance cards here as well before we take this over to the extended. I'm going to get some more tarot cards as well as the oracle cards and the charms. So what's the overall guidance for you? When we go over to the extended, I want to get really practical guidance for how you can move forward. I really want to get some more, I want to go deeper with this relationship stuff that's popped up and the fears that are holding you back. I feel like we need to dig into that. So if this has resonated for you, you can find the link to the extended down below. But let's get the guidance cards for here first. We have got the 9 of Wands, the 5 of Wands, the King of Swords in reverse, and the 7 of Cups. And from, which one we're getting? It's the Divine Abundance deck. Awakening. Detachment. And deepening. And from the Keepers of the Light deck. Such beautiful sunshine today. The Miriam, Sacred Vision. And Freya, Phases and Cycles. And from the Healers of the Earth deck, I think we'll get a couple more of those and maybe some more animal cards. We have the Camel. The child in me just sniggered at the idea of a camel toe. I don't know why that's significant. Maybe that was someone's sign. Oh dear. Okay, a snake. Oh, camel toe indeed. And where are the animal cards? Okay, where have I put them? Oh, I've just grabbed them. Oh gosh, I really am losing the plot today. Right, let's get some charms. Okay, what have we got here? We have the Crown. I don't know why my phone is not auto-focusing. Come on, phone. P.S. I love you. Now, this is a nod towards Photoshop, which I feel the whole design, illustrator, photographer thing is significant to you, as well as I'm thinking of P.S. I Love You, the movie. We have the Game Boy. We have the Hermit Crab. And Cancerian energy already came through for you with the Queen of Cups. And we have the Bitch Spray. Okay. So let's do this. Guidance for you, pile 3, Awakening. This says, oh my Lord, wake me up from life as a spiritual sheep. May I hear you through my own instincts and common sense. Awakening is an ongoing process. You know, we'll see that it's represented by the lotus flower, and the petals slowly unfurl as the lotus flower comes into bloom and receives more and more light. And as those petals are peeled back, more shadow is brought into our awareness for healing. I want to remind you that awakening, therefore, is not a one-time event, that, you know, you are constantly being reborn and growing into this new higher state of consciousness. A spiritual sheep is someone that still, despite their own spiritual practice, relies on the spiritual guidance they receive externally and cannot always go in and find that wisdom or guidance for themselves. And this is not something to be ashamed of, but you are being reminded that you do have available to you through your own instincts all of that love and all of that wisdom. And your spiritual practice now needs to be deepened. You need to go in deeper, and we see this deepening energy coming through for you here. You know, this is about allowing yourself to journey through that meditative practice and really become inquisitive about your true nature, and to go there first to seek the guidance you need before you look outside of self. It doesn't mean you should never look for a shepherd, because sometimes we need one. Sometimes we can't find the answers within, and you know, spirit will instead channel what we need through another trusted party, which they'll usually divinely guide us towards. So this isn't about shaming yourself and saying you should always be entirely independent and self-sufficient. I am a spiritual person who is continually awakening, and I still seek guidance from my peers, from my community, from trusted teachers, because we can never know it all. You know, we always get in our own way in some capacity as we continue to evolve and grow. So this isn't about shaming you and saying, oh God, you sheep. And I'm looking at actually the sheep in Lion's Clothing card that came out for you earlier. I think it's really significant that maybe your ego is very triggered by this idea that you are not as evolved as you would like to think you are or want to be. But don't allow yourself to be inhibited by that thought. You know, we all need a guide external to us sometimes, but you are being reminded that you have this power in you to go deeper and access more. And this is what Spirit is really asking you to do. It says here, with detachment, you finally feel whole inside, with or without the fulfillment of a particular desire. And ironically, that's when it's fulfilled. And so Going back to this energy of surrender and the running and chaser energy, you may be detached physically and in a literal separation, and you may be telling yourself that you don't care, but actually you're not detached from the outcome. It still causes you pain, and you're being asked to recognize this and work with it rather than avoid it through the energy of shame, because it's not where you want to be. Deepening. Once you're on earth for enough lifetimes, your old soul would begin to long for non-grasping detachment and surrender. They bring the peace of God. Isn't that fascinating after we spoke about that, about why the old soul is here? You know, to learn about non-grasping detachment. And detachment refers to not being attached to a specific outcome, to just being part of that divine flow and accepting all that is. The camel reminds you of your power to sustain yourself. You know, I always see the camel as this creature that can store water as much as it needs in order to sustain self. And water represents the emotional body, the energy of love that we discussed here at the beginning of your reading. This is asking you to remember your power, not your camel toe, but your power to actually sustain yourself with all the emotional and loving sustenance you need. And the snake, the Ouroboros, you know, a symbol of creation, a symbolic of transformation and shedding skin. It shows as the flower of life here, another significant symbol for you. And of course, that eternal nature of that cycle, you know, the snake eating its own tail. Change is always uncomfortable. Snakes will resist shedding skin until they can bear it no longer, because they fear that sacrifice and loss and the discomfort they will face in the process. And then they feel that beautiful sense of liberation when the old skin finally detaches and they are reborn. This is reminding you that yes, transformation can be uncomfortable, but it's necessary and it's worth it. And it's what illuminates the shadow aspects that remain outside the boundaries of our perspective. Sacred vision and Freya. Choose to forgive in order to heal. See the light in all. Remember that love has no boundaries. Now, boundaries, it's not referring to having healthier boundaries, which you need in order to protect yourself. It means that love takes nothing from itself and, you know, gives everything it has, because it's self-sustaining. It's an infinite flow of energy, and that it can move to everywhere and anywhere it needs to go. The Miriam is all about sacred vision, and this is a very twin flame image. And what I'm hearing is that you're being called to recognize that love moves across space and time, no matter the earthly obstacles or physical states of separation that seem to exist between us. Phases and cycles. There is a beginning within every ending, and illusions are being revealed and released. The crow or raven comes up here twice for you. Perhaps that's a significant symbol. I would also ask you to Google the symbology of the crow. It's significant to you in some way, and you'll understand it when you do that research. The crown. Open up your crown and plug in. You know, to have such a vibrant and beautiful crown chakra and to refuse to connect to source on a regular basis is madness. You know, you would never not charge your phone, because you realize that by charging your phone, you have access to a powerful tool. Well, by being connected through your crown chakra to source and staying in alignment with that, you have access to more power, to more wisdom, to more healing and more love. Use the tools provided and available to you. P.S. I love you and Game Boy. I feel like I need to read together. Maybe the bitch spray as well. You know, this person does care about you very, very much. Whoever they are and wherever they are, and they don't intend to play games, just as you don't intend to be a bitch. You're not understanding how repellent your behavior is just as much as theirs is. As I said, you're both in avoidant behavior, and this hermit phase that you've both been in, I'm hearing, is coming to an end. You have both had a lot of time independent on with one another to do some growth, and now the universe is going to repeat a cycle, bring you back together so you can put all of that new information, growth, and what's the word, power into practice. You mustn't fear this. It's happening for you, and it's going to be okay. So thank you so much for being here with me today, pile 3. Thank you to the generous souls that watch my adverts and commercials. It's such a perfect energy exchange, my time for yours, and it really does help my channel to grow. I want to remind you I'm going live with K-Moon to talk about twin flame astrology here on my channel this weekend. Don't forget to check out my website where you can find out more about my tarot classes and the services I offer. I will be opening my diary for some twin flame checks soon. I only got that download last night that I need to do this ahead of a class that I'm planning to do with Made for Love. So make sure you're on my mailing list if you want to book with me. And if you want to join me at the extended, I will see you over there. Thank you so much for being here. Lots of love and light to you. Bye. Hello, pile 4. Welcome to your reading. You have chosen this beautiful card with the fluorite, and we are using the Midnight City Tarot for you today. We are asking Spirit for the messages that you need the most. So this could be anything. It could pertain to career, love, family, relationships, healing of self. We'll soon find out. Just hold the intention in mind that you're ready and willing to receive the messages you need the most. And now's a really good time as well to ask Spirit for a sign. Remember, a sign can be anything at all. It's just a way for Spirit to really reassure you that, you know, the magic is real, to help support your faith and to help you trust in the messages that come through. It could be an animal, an object, something from nature, a song, a place, a name, a god, goddess or deity, whatever works for you. And let's hope that that sign comes through for you today. There will be an extended reading today, if this one resonates. And if you skipped the intro today, pile 4, I'm going to be really cheeky and ask you to pop back and watch it if you have time, because I did offer a little prayer in the intro for the Ukraine for us all to share. The collective consciousness is really, really powerful. You know, when we all work towards the same intentions and outcomes together, we really have the power to move the light and move the energy to help resolve the turbulence that's happening in the world today. Me and some other readers will be getting together to do some special events to raise money and to raise the vibration of the situation very soon. So watch this space. But in the meantime, there is a little prayer there that if you would like to join us in sending that light, it's really appreciated. Okay, we're going to park this card over here for now. We are going to read this one. But let's draw some other cards first. Again, we're asking Spirit for the messages you need to know the most today. I love this card deck. It's an independently created deck. In fact, all the decks I've used today are indie decks, and it's a New York themed deck, which is very cool. Maybe that was your sign. Okay, let's do this. The 8 of Swords in reverse. The 9 of Cups, the Magician in reverse, the 3 of Cups, and the 5 of Wands in reverse. And let's clarify these. We've got the 8 of Pentacles, so we're starting with 2 8s. That's really significant. We'll get into that. The 7 of Pentacles in reverse. The 7 of Cups in reverse, the Knight of Pentacles in reverse, and the 2 of Wands. And let's get some Oracle cards as well. We're going to use the Moonology Oracle deck first. Remember, all the decks I use are listed in the description box below. We've got Don't Let Your Past Hold You Back, South Node. This just came through for pile 3 as well. Let's just move these up a touch. I know I'm a bit OCD about getting the cards aligned, but I just want it to look pretty. It annoys me when they're all wonky donkey. Okay. Bring love into the situation. New moon in Aquarius. And from the Keepers of the... No, I'm going to go with Healers of the Earth. The Healers of the Earth deck. Oh, hold on, some of my hair's there. My hair's everywhere today. I must be shedding like a bleeding dog. Pardon my French. It's a British thing. Okay. Right. Bird's eye view. Seeing the bigger picture. Number 4. Fantasy, imagination, conception and dreams, number 68. And Black Swan, an unforeseen event, surprise or hindsight. Let's get a couple of animal cards as well. Just going to move this one to the side slightly so we can make room for them. Just budge these up as well. The whale. Oh, the whale is one of my favourite power animals. What a beautiful card to come through for you. And the tarantula. I don't like spiders, but actually tarantula is very powerful energy. Okay. Powerful, big energy. The Eight of Swords. I mean, we talked about these eights coming through first and how significant the number 8 is. Obviously, it's a symbol of infinity, and it's also symbolic of the cyclic nature of life, that going round and round. I actually talked about this in a couple of the other parts today about, you know, how everything spirals and each turn is more expansive. The number 8 symbol works in a similar fashion. You know, we see it growing and expanding as our consciousness expands infinitely throughout the ascension process. This feels very connected to the energy of career, even though there's a powerful spiritual leaning here with these number 7s coming through. I am being guided towards a career-focused reading because you are at a crossroads in your life. And I feel like the work that you're doing, it satisfies you to a point, and there is some energy of stability and discipline, and it's a comfort zone energy actually that's coming through here. But when the 8 of Swords is in reverse, it shows us that you have a lot of blind spots that are actually inhibiting you from moving forward. You're not aware of how destructive your own limiting beliefs are. And if you look at this card, you can see that it features someone stood on a train platform. It's raining behind them. It feels like they're imprisoned, although this is a metaphor for being imprisoned by our own thoughts, by the mental body, the mind. And it says here train delays. And so, you know, your ability and potential to actually move forward towards what you want is being thwarted by not just your limiting beliefs, but your complete lack of awareness of those mental limitations that are self-created. The 9 of Cups is about emotional stability and self-sufficiency, and you probably haven't been able to assess your career prospects or really consider a move because you've been going through so much emotional stuff that you really needed to bring yourself back to a point of balance before you could even, you know, be brave enough to make any changes. What we're seeing here is that that has now happened to a greater or lesser degree. You are in a much more stable emotional place than where you were before. There is still more to come. And we can see here, this is such a beautiful representation of the 9 of Cups, because we see this person ascending the ladder, trying to reach that top shelf. And this says things like peace and prosperity. The others all have herb names on, but love is down here. You know, this is about you've started learning to love yourself and nourish yourself and self-soothe emotionally. Now it's about really, shall we say, enhancing what you've already learned to really step into that energy of peace. And also, this is what's going to provide the sustenance required to help drive you forward on your career path. A big part of the reason why you haven't shifted, and I do feel like this isn't just a crossroads or fork road, it's a real massive change. It's not just looking for a similar job in a different business or a slightly different sector. It's a complete career overhaul or change that you've been considering. And one of the things that's inhibited you is the feeling of frustration that you might have to go through this whole training period again, or should we say to take a big step back in order to take a step forward in the direction you want to go. And so this is what's put you off. Now, I'm hearing that that isn't necessarily true, and that this is one of the limiting beliefs that's been keeping you stuck where you are. And even though you're comfortable, you know, you're in a comfort zone, you know that you're not where you're meant to be. And you have these dreams and aspirations that you don't actually allow yourself to consider as being something that has real potential. And we can see here with the Magician in reverse, clarified by the Seven of Cups in reverse, that you feel you don't have the skills and the tools you need to make this happen and to manifest the career you want. And with the Seven of Cups in reverse, it just feels like your dreams are impossible and that there is no real option for you actually to pursue the path that you really want. This is really limiting. None of this is true. And so again, you're being asked to reflect on the blind spots that cause you to labor under these illusions that keep you so stuck. And it says here, don't let your past hold you back. South node, look at where your south node, what sign is in your south node on your astrology chart. The south node is the energy we're bringing with us into this life from a previous incarnation. It's an energy we've already mastered and that we're comfortable with, but it also has its light and dark aspects. And so in some respects, the shadowy parts we bring with us can act as an obstacle or barrier. And it says specifically here, there is something about your south node that is holding you back as far as career is concerned. You may find that your north node is a much more powerful, driven energy of leadership. I'm guessing Leo energy, and I can't remember what the opposite sign is to Leo, which would tell us what your south node is. But let me know in the comments if you check yours and your north node is in Leo and the relative south node, because that's just magic. I love when that happens. But there's something about this energy that you're bringing forward that doesn't feel comfortable with the energy of power, leadership, prosperity and abundance. And that's the part of you that's fearful. That's the part of you that, you know, has all these ideas about why you can't do what you want to do. And so you just kind of stay where you are, wishing it could be different, but not taking action to actually make it happen. Three of Cups. Okay, I'm trying to think how to explain this one diplomatically. Pile 4, you have grown immeasurably in recent times. You have transformed beyond recognition. Your perspective of life, your perspective of self, your perspective of your relationship to the earth and to spirit is completely different. You are more evolved, you are more mature, you are more balanced, and you are definitely maturing in a very spiritual way. The people around you haven't. And I know it can feel incredibly isolating and alienating when you realize that actually the spiritual journey can be quite lonely, because not everyone is on it. And, you know, chances are most of the people around you don't understand, are afraid of, or unwilling to have the conversations with you that are deep and meaningful and that you really want to have. The Three of Cups is about a social energy, and you can see here it features these three people gathered, and the trees are represented in blue, this energy of truth, with the actual canopy above it represented in pink, which is the color of spirit, and they're sat on the grass, which is green, and you can see these fallen petals around them, but they're all showing up, in fact all the figures do, in their shadow aspect, which is that dense earthly energy. You know, when we look at the yin yang symbol, the darker side of it represents the dense, thick, heavy energy of the earthly environment. The white, light aspect of the yin yang is that representation of spirit, and we're supposed to be balanced in the middle. But most of us are born into that dense earthly body and believe that's all we are. And I don't know if this is what the illustrator intended, but this is how I'm reading it. And what this is showing you is that it's okay to be the odd one out, the so-called black sheep, because even though these people may not be receptive to what you know and you can have, I'm just hearing that, you know, spirit is always, you know, sprinkling its magic on these situations, and you mustn't underestimate the value of your presence in the lives of these people that can't necessarily align with the spiritual practice that you are exploring. That said, there is a message here about finding like-minded friends. And sometimes we have to go online to do that. Although, you know, in most towns and villages and cities, there are communities of spiritual people that if you dig deep enough, you will be able to find. It's one of the fastest growing industries at the moment. And I hate to use the word industry in relation to spirit, but what I mean by that is that, you know, there's crystal shops popping up everywhere, sound bath events, Reiki is really gaining pace. Maybe you live in a very secular place where those kind of things aren't as prevalent, but you know, you're being pushed towards finding like-minded people and establishing yourself within one of those communities, because it feels like your progress is often very much thwarted by the very 3D, dense, limited perspectives of the people you spend time with. And I feel like these are close friends. And so, you know, a part of you feels a bit arrogant when you think, oh God, you know, I feel like I'm just light years ahead of them in how I see things. And it's really hard to sometimes accept their mundane views or their shadowy opinions. It's not arrogant, but it is frustrating. And, you know, when we are ascending, we can't help but notice that disparity. It doesn't make you egotistical. You're just observing what is, and it can feel isolating and alienating, but you do need to take action. The Knight of Pentacles here coming up in reverse is showing you that, for me, this is about you having done so much research and so much reading and so much studying into spiritual practices, but the missing piece of the puzzle for you is action, and you feel a bit vulnerable and a bit shy about expressing your spirituality and actually practicing it in the physical world. This is the energy of almost like being afraid to come out of the spiritual closet, being afraid to tell people, I think I'm psychic and I think I'm having this crazy experience. You know, there's a lot of shame connected to it. There's a lot of fear of judgment. But the Knight of Pentacles, and I'm going to show you how it's illustrated here. It's so fascinating. We can see this person coming up from underground. They're rising up the steps out into the open, and there's a pentacle here behind them, symbolic of protection, but they're ascending up that stairwell, coming out from the dark, coming from underground, coming, you know, shall we say, ascending out of their earthly awareness and into that higher state of awareness. The Knight of Pentacles isn't generally an action-oriented card. Knights are all about movement, but this Knight is the only one that in most cards, in most decks, isn't moving. But in this deck, he is. He's rising up that staircase, coming out of the dark into the light. We see this lamppost here, and it's got all of these, oh wow, look at that, infinity number 8's on it. Isn't that magic? So, you know, now is the time. The action you need to take is just to allow yourself to rise out of your earthly experience and embrace your spiritual practice. You've done enough studying, you've done enough observing and listening. Now is the time to actually start doing, to actually start putting this energy into practice so you can continue ascending and continue growing in light. It feels like you've hit a stumbling block and things have slowed down and you may feel quite stuck. So, you know, all of these things are also impacting your ability to shift careers, because these people you spend time with, when you floated that idea, they'd probably be terrified to take the leap you're considering. And so their fear, their anxiety, their pessimistic worldview is having a dramatic influence and impact on yours. This is a decision that you need to make for yourself, and you need to trust the divine impulse within yourself. When the Five of Wands in reverse, you know, this is about, you don't actually need a strategy. You don't need to know how to make this happen. What you need to do is just make a decision. And look at this. This Two of Wands, which is all about decisiveness, features a balcony with this very broad perspective. And you can see that beautiful glow. Orange is the color of the sacral energy of inspiration, passion, drive, and creativity. We have that pink energy that's a reference to the crown and the star chakra. And then there's this kind of dark, murky blue, which shows us that anxiety and dark leaning in, but the stars still twinkle across this skyline. And even though we can't see what's waiting for us in the distance, we can only focus what's immediately in front of us. You know, the sky beckons you forward, that orange and pink. You know, orange I always associate the sacral chakra with Aries energy, that desire to just rush forward, that beautiful divine impulse to just go forward and create. But this is such a beautiful energy. You know, the balcony is blue, the color of truth, the color of authenticity and knowing. And it's got all of this green, purple and pink represented in the buildings, all colors associated with the higher chakras and the spiritual experience. Even the wands here are pink. And these beautiful lights, which are potentially representative of the trigger. the trigger aspects of your experience, because yellow connects to the solar plexus, and even though it's our power center, it's also the part of us that is triggered, so that we can start to identify our wounding. So you just need to make a decision despite the fear that leans in, despite the anxiety. You don't need to know what's in the future or to fear it. It hasn't happened yet, and the whole point of this is that you're going to create it. So, you know, one of the things that's held you back is, oh, but what if? But what if? But what if? And you know, what if is the most useless, unproductive thought we can ever have. If you're going to use what if, at least make it a positive one. What if it works? What if it's really great? What if I'm, you know, revitalized and prosperous? You have to start thinking from a much more positive mindset. Again, you don't need to know the plan. When you make the decision, you're setting an intention to the universe that this is what I want. I've decided. Yeah, I've decided what I want, and I'm setting that intention, making it clear to the universe. That then opens a door through which the right energy can flow, and the universe will continue to nudge you in the right direction. Baby steps. We can only see slightly ahead of ourselves. We're not meant to see all the way into the future. We're not meant to know everything. That's not real life. It's about the journey, not the destination. And the goal of really embracing and integrating your intuitive knowing is to trust in the next step. You know, a lot of people, when they say, oh, you're psychic, are you? Well, why can't you tell me the lottery numbers? And people have this bizarre perception that psychics should know everything. And that's not how intuition works. Everyone is psychic, by the way. We're just not all aware of how to use those higher senses and gifts. But being psychic means you know what's right for you in the moment. You are able to receive the information you need at any given time, and you are able to trust in the intuitive flow of energy that gently nudges you in the right direction. Yeah, it's not about knowing lottery numbers. We don't know everything, and Spirit's only going to share something with us if it's meant to. If you're meant to win the lottery, then maybe you will get the lottery numbers in your dream. I'm sure that's happened. But the point is, you mustn't think that, in order for me to take this step, I need the safety and security of knowing what the outcome's going to be. You just have to trust that if your impulse is to move in this direction, you can trust it. What feels good is always the right thing for you. And I know it's really tricky to figure out that very subtle difference between the impulse to do it and the fear that holds us back, because intuition is about magnetism and resistance. And so we're taught to trust the magnetism and to trust the resistance. If you feel magnetized to it, it's right. If you feel resistant, it probably isn't. But fear clouds that judgment, because we know what we want, but then the anxiety and fear comes in and makes us think, oh, well, maybe I can't trust that impulse. How do I know it's right? What if this happens? What if that happens? So, you're at a stage in your journey where if you can continue to develop your psychic practice and to develop that ability to discern where the magnetism begins and the fear and resistance is, and the bit in the middle that actually complicates it, you're going to be able to move forward with a lot more confidence. But it's all about focusing on the now. Once you've made that decision, just set the intention to the universe that I'm not sure how to make this happen, but I trust that you're going to consistently give me the answers I need to take the next step. And then it's about trusting the impulses that you get. So neuroscience teaches us that when we are meditating and affirming in meditation, the brain starts powering up action centers. And these are parts of our brain that are associated with the energy of doing. And so, our whole brain and mind is actually wired to respond to our desires. When you set the intention to do something, spiritual guidance aside, the brain is starting to function in a way to create the tangible, action-oriented behaviors to make that intention happen. It's literally the brain manifesting what we want. It's not just energy, but neuroscience shows us we're actually built to do that. So you really need to trust that once you just make the decision, and it's okay to say, well, I don't know how to make this happen, but I know it's what I want to do, and so I'm going to do it. I don't have a plan, but I'm going to figure it out one step at a time. This is what you're being asked to do. You know, just to trust, to recognize that this desire to shift out of the career you're in, because I'm hearing it's, even though it's comfortable, it's no longer congruent with the truth of who you are. And you're being guided back, you know, to your own instincts and your spiritual practice, and to step away from the conversations you're having with people that can't understand, know, or trust the experience you're having. Their advice and opinions and influence isn't valid, because you are on a different evolutionary frequency and they cannot see what you see. In fact, the trees here are reminding me of an analogy that my guide shared with me once, and they said being spiritually aware and ascending is like being a very tall tree among saplings, because you have a much broader perspective. Because you are a tall grown tree, you can see for miles around, and you're exposed to things that the saplings around you cannot see. And so when you say to them, hey guys, guess what's over here in the distance? I can see this, I can see that. They're like, what are you talking about? You're crazy. That's not happening, because none of them can see it. And so it makes us feel so isolated, alienated, and weird. Because we know something, we see something, we feel something that's so real to us, but most of society just thinks we're absolutely crackers. There are so many spiritual people that feel this way and understand you and are there for you. Please seek them out. Find that community so that you can have this safe outlet to continue growing. Your growth has almost come to a grinding halt because you feel like you haven't got the space to actually express that part of yourself or to practice it. I'm hearing that in the home, you know, you're paranoid about, maybe it's the people you share your home with and you just feel very uncomfortable. But we don't need tools to practice spirituality. You know, you don't have to go out and buy loads of crystals and Buddha statues and, you know, make a little altar. Those are lovely things to do if you feel like you want to, but they're not necessary. Being spiritual is just about going within. You know, you can do it when you're in the bath. You can take a moment in the morning when everyone's out to, you know, meditate and go in. You can be in nature and have a deeply spiritual experience. But you can have that experience wherever you stand. It is possible to practice privately and discreetly if that feels safer to you at this time. Whichever way you decide to do it, you just need to start practicing. You need to start putting all of that studying into practice so that you can begin understanding the steps and receiving the guidance you need to move forward along a new career path. It says, bring love into this situation, new moon in Aquarius. This is about altruism, a new altruistic start. And I feel like your job is quite mundane, and the goal is to move into something that allows you to care more, to give back, to help people grow. And, you know, this is what you're meant to be doing. Maybe Aquarius is your North Node, but you definitely can trust this impulse and desire to transform yourself. I also want to reassure you that another very limiting belief is that often we think, you know, this came up for you here with the Seven of Pence in reverse, this career change is going to mean I'm going to be less abundant because people don't make money caring. You know, you might have a really successful, very prosperous career already, and you're thinking, well, how can, you know, a career doing something more altruistic match up? My experience teaches me that those careers don't pay so well. That's a really limiting belief. I know spiritual people who earn very basic, low money, and I know some who earn insane, crazy, high money. I came from the corporate sector with that same limiting belief, and it hasn't been my experience that I've earned less. You mustn't hold on to that particularly limiting belief. It's simply not true. You know, in every industry, there are people at the top and bottom of that, should we say, the scale of wealth or abundance, and what we receive is entirely based on what we expect and how we value ourselves. We literally co-create it. You know, people say, oh, it's all right for you, you've got a high paying job. It's like, well, dude, you chose the job you're in. Do you know what I mean? Because that's how you value yourself, and it's what you think you're worth and that you can actually achieve. We all have the opportunity to receive everything we need and want. And you are a very powerful manifestor. I'm hearing you've already been very successful in the career that you have. Trust that those skills and that positive mindset is transferable. We've got bird's eye view, see the bigger picture in a higher perspective. And this is exactly what I was talking about when I said, you know, you're not actually allowing your intuition to power your ability to move forward through this. Because we see this lady connected to the moon, but she's kind of slouching there, not really paying attention to it. Peace is available to her, but she's not seeing it. She's looking down at that earthly reality, even though Spirit's saying, look, we've brought you up here so you can have access to this higher guidance and this beautiful perspective, the bird's eye view from the top of the tree we talked about. You know, embrace it, allow yourself to embody the power that is available to you. The Seven of Cups in reverse, which is about daydreaming, choices, trusting in our ability to choose and be successful, that was in reverse, is indicated again here with this fantasy card. And it says imagination, conception and daydreams. It's the number 6, which is connected to the energy of love, and it's the number 8, which, remember, is that infinite symbol of growth, expansion of consciousness that came through so strong for you in the beginning. Combined, it's number 14, which is the energy of death and transformation and Scorpio and the rising of the Phoenix. And 14, of course, reduces to 5, the energy of the Hierophant, power, authority, high learning, you know, and really applying that earthly studying to, you know, the actual literal connection to source. So you have to allow yourself to dream and to bring this dream into reality through the power that you have available to you. An unforeseen event, surprise or hindsight comes through here with Black Swan. This suggests to me that when you make this decision, and it's coming up under this card, when you make this decision, okay, universe, I know what I want to do now. I don't know yet how to make it happen, but this is what I want. I really feel like the universe, in addition to delivering unto you the messages and the guidance you need to keep taking steps forward, I really feel like they're going to give you a massive hand in actually shunting you in the right direction. This feels like, you know, they're going to create for you a chain of events that you could not have predicted or foreseen that support you in moving to where you need to go, whether it be financially, practically, or some other such thing. The universe is very clever in this way, and this is how it happened for me. You know, I made the decision, but the decision of what I wanted to do, but the me actually leaving my career at the time was out of my hands. That decision was made for me, and I was kind of pushed in the right direction by the hands of fate. This is how it's going to be for you. This loving, gentle shove along the right path from Spirit, and you can look forward to this. The fact that it comes through as a Black Swan suggests to me, and look, you can see here she's holding her hand up like, oh God, no, hold on, stay back. And even though she's got the peace symbol with her hand here, and that's how it felt for me. There was resistance because I was scared. I hadn't decided to leave the business I was running. That was decided for me, and so I felt out of control. It was chaotic. It was the proverbial tower moment. But you can trust this. It may be uncomfortable to begin with, but it's something you are able to move through and really ascend from that point. They're showing me you being launched like a rocket. It's a beautiful energy. We've got the whale here as well. The whale is one of my favorite symbols. It has the most beautiful big heart of all the animal kingdom. It's come through a lot in our readings today, actually, so maybe it's a significant symbol for the collective right now. But whale energy is also deeply, deeply intuitive. It doesn't communicate with words. It communicates with this vibration that in the water creates these very unique and beautiful sounds. It's a very, very intelligent, highly conscious, highly evolved creature. I do believe they are significantly more intelligent and evolved than human beings. So the whale is reminding you of this power that you have within you. And what you'll notice about the whale is, even though people are in awe of their magnificence, most people wouldn't suggest that they are more intelligent or powerful than us. We assume that because they operate in a different way, we have something they don't, and they're not that clever. Well, they don't talk, they don't build things, you know, they don't live like we live, so they're probably not sentient and a bit stupid. And I guess that's how people perceive the spiritual folk, who again are these tall trees that have a different perspective. It's so different from what, you know, the people who are not having that awakening experience can see, feel and understand. And you know, the human ego has a real superiority complex about it, right, when comparing itself to different beings and different experiences. So I really feel like the whale is going to be a significant power animal for you to work with in supporting you and using that beautiful big heart energy that you have, in supporting you in coming out of the dark towards light and truth and growth, and also supporting you in accepting your differences and to recognize that it's okay to be different and to embrace your power. It's okay if other people can't understand or see or feel or appreciate, respect and accept what your experience is. Only you need to do that. The tarantula is a fabulous card to come through when we're talking about work, because it's a very industrious creature. For me, the tarantula is symbolic of massive self-sufficiency, hard work, discipline and diligence. We're still in awe of how spiders create silk and weave these beautiful structures which allows them to sustain themselves. And so this is a powerful career symbol for you. And again, even if you have arachnophobia, you know, you need to work with a power animal, tarantula, because it's asking you to understand your power to create. It's also a divine feminine symbol. You know, female spiders, they eat the male spider after, you know, they're jiggy. And they really don't need that protection or provision from a male energy. They have this powerful energy of self-sufficiency and industriousness to create exactly which they want. The colors here, which are red, the color of the root chakra, and yellow, symbolic of that power center and our ability to, you know, really embody our full force. But the red is also about that past energy, the root chakra that we're pulling with us, the really earthy skills and attributes and all of everything we've learned before in our earthly experience that's going to support us moving forward, that's going to help launch us. Now, I forgot to come to this card, and I was obviously meant to come to it now rather at the beginning of the reading. This is the one you chose in your pile. This is the Sun card, and it's a number 19, which is the energy of the magician, and 9 is the energy of the hermit. And again, like the tarantula, the power of solitude. And it says light, life and energy. And this is what you're being asked to embrace. You can see this beautiful big heart at the center with this all-seeing eye and the sun illuminating that in truth, which is the color of blue here. The sun is actually a very ascended state of being. Traditionally in the tarot, it's represented by a child on a horse. And because it's number 19, you know, the third from last card in the major arcana, it represents that very evolved state of being that we're aiming for throughout the ascension process. And that can seem contradictory, that we should mature spiritually and yet return to this childlike state of being as it's represented. The horse in the card represents freedom, and the child that sits on the back of the horse, you know, is able to embrace that freedom. And it's a naked child, which demonstrates how vulnerable and pure and self-confident it is. You know, as adults, we start to hide our bodies. We become ashamed of them. Children just exist in purity, innocence, true joy and presence. And this is why it's such an ascended state, because it's what we're always aiming to return to. You know, the childhood self, round about the age of 8 or 9, the ego comes in. And then we become even more susceptible to the programming and the experience that's occurring around us. If that's dysfunctional or traumatic, the ego can start to really suffer and take on all of that pain, and it distorts the balance. And so, you know, this is about returning to that childlike, playful innocence. And if you said to a child, what do you want to be when I grow up? You know, they'll say something like, I want to be an astronaut. You know, they're not saying, I want to be an astronaut, but I probably won't be because that sounds really impossible. I'll never be able to do that. You know, when they tell you what they want to be, they believe it because it's what they want. You know, this is the energy you're being asked to embody, to remember that anything is possible. Unless you're like my daughter's friend at nursery. She said she wanted to be a snowman. You can't be a snowman. Not in this dimension anyway, God bless her. She was called Abby. She was so sweet. It really tickled me. Okay, let's get the guidance cards for you, pile 4. Because I want to get some really tangible advice. I want to understand more about what's created these limiting beliefs, because I feel like there's shall we say, the path to unblocking that is a significant thing for you to focus on so that you can keep moving forward. Then we're going to take this over to the extended, where we're going to go much, much deeper, because I do feel like in addition to this social community issue, there's some family stuff here because of the root chakra that needs to come through as well. So even though this has been a career focused reading, I do feel like there's a lot of family stuff in the background that dramatically impacts your ability to make this shift. And of course we will get a lot of practical guidance in the extended too, but we're going to get some now. So let's start with some more tarot cards. It's really good to be back, by the way. I haven't felt my readings flow like this in forever, which is why I've not been posting. You know, I try and make readings and it's just not like flowing, but this is flowing beautifully and I'm so happy to be here, and thank you for being here so I have this outlet. I love you guys so much. Okay, the Knight of Cups. What a beautiful energy to come through for you. The Five of Cups in reverse. This has popped up in a lot of the piles today. The Six of Swords, that's also popped up in a lot of piles today. The Six of Pentacles in reverse. And the Wheel of Fortune. And from the Divine Abundance deck, actually pile 3, I got a different oracle, sorry, pile 4, I got a different oracle deck out just for you that I didn't use in the other piles. I felt guided to get it. Maybe the sign you've asked for is in there. We've got Delusion, Humility, and Right Now. From the Keepers of the Light deck, where is the Keepers of the Light deck? Where has it gone? There it is. It was right in front of me. We've got the Shekinah, Sacred Self, and Chanunos, Life Force. I love how these cards just are so spot on relative to the messages that have already come through. This is the Heal Yourself deck, which I got out just for you. We're going to get some charms as well. And the card for you is Healing. Okay. Powerful. Right, let's get some. Ooh, okay, that one flew out. It's a vinyl record player. Okay. Right, what have we got here? We have got a police badge, FBI. This is like a take on the X-Files when they were on The Simpsons. That's Fox Mulder right there looking sexy. I always forget which chakra that symbol is, but I think it's the crown. If it's not the crown, maybe that's what it needed to be today, because that's how I'm receiving it. We've got the tape measure, love in a jar, and I believe. So let's read these guidance cards. The Knight of Cups, you can see that they're in a boat, and this is different to the traditional Knight of Cups because normally he stood in front of the river waiting to cross it. In this one, the dude's in his boat and he is rowing. This is about, again, continuing to develop your ability to regulate emotionally and connect to your emotional depths. This is where you're going to find more power, more peace, more stability. The Five of Cups comes up on reverse over that Nine of Cups, and the Five of Cups in reverse is unresolved grief, and you can see in this card that it needs to flow. You need to keep, you know, getting into the emotional body and allowing that trauma to surface and be processed. Seek support if you need to, but don't keep avoiding it. The Six of Swords is also about moving on, and remember we started with train delays, and here we see the train finally moving. You know, lots of sixes coming through for you here. That is the number of love. You know, you're really being asked to embrace the energies and the movement presented to you. When the Six of Pentacles comes up in reverse, this is indicative of feeling like you might not get what you need, and interestingly it's depicted as someone begging or busking. And so you've got to release that fear and trust that the universe will always provide for you, particularly when you are following a light mission that supports the healing of others. And remember, healing stood out here for you with that card, which came from a deck that I chose just for this pile. The Wheel of Fortune. This is a very auspicious, fated energy. It's asking you to trust. It's reminding you that the universe is on your side and always conspiring to move you in the direction that's meant for you. Delusion says intention without surrender can be a fast path to delusion. And I love how significant this is, because this is what I was saying. It's all well and good dreaming about having a career change, but without surrendering to that truth and making the decision to do it is just keeping you stuck and delusional. And so you really just need to set your intention. Allow me, divine, to always accept the right assistance. I welcome your help in every way and delight in receiving it. And this, I think, connects back to that seeking out community, teachers and support. Right now, I ask you to stay in the present, to not get too far ahead of the flow. Remember what we spoke about with that Two of Wands. You don't need to see into the distance. You'll soon trust that nothing more will come that can be handled in each moment. This is about releasing anxiety and focusing on the present, because we can't know the future. The Shekinah asks you to embrace the sacred self, and I'm fascinated that the dove has showed up here for you in 2 cards. Here, they're not seeing the dove or embracing peace, but in this one, the dove is front and center and informs the step forward. And it says, unleash your spirit, express your gifts, dance to the sacred rhythm of life. The Merkaba pops up here for you as well. That may be significant. There is actually a meditation on my channel to activate your Merkabic field. You can find that in the video I posted in December at the 1212 portal. Chanunos, life force, express your driving passion. Sensual and sexual powers are increased. Now, while sexuality might not feel relevant, sexuality is actually a powerful energy with which we manifest. The sacral chakra, even though we talk about it being associated to sex and passion, really that energy is about creation and manifestation. And so it's reminding you of this power center and life force that you have that helps move you forward. You are undoubtedly a healer, and as you continue to heal yourself, you will develop the skill, experience and humility to support the healing of others. At the moment, your love is contained and isn't being shared. You know, you need to take off the lid and allow it to flow, to step in the power available to you through your crown chakra. Music is significant. I'm hearing you need to pay attention to the music that Spirit is making available to you, because there are messages in there you need to hear. I never know how the police badge is relevant. Sometimes I think people just need to see it, but I'm hearing the word investigation, and I've just noticed here it says Department of Investigations. I don't know how that's significant to you, but hopefully you do. The tape measure is reminding you that you don't need to rush. 4 is about stabilizing. 5 is about learning and transforming so that we can achieve the number 10 energy of completion. So just trust in the momentum of it. And above all else, pile 4, believe. Believe you can be everything that you want to be. So thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to take this over to the extended now. The link is in the description box below. Thank you to the very generous souls that took the time to watch my adverts and commercials today. It's such a perfect energy exchange. I appreciate how you take your time to do that, because it really does help my channel to grow. So thank you so much. Thank you for your comments, for your likes, for subscribing, because that means I will see you next time. And don't forget to keep your eyes peeled on the updates to the live moon with the live stream that I'm going to be doing here on my channel with K-Moon to talk about twin flame astrology. If you're not on my mailing list, check it out on my website. You will get an update real soon. Lots of exciting things happening, because I am back in the flow. So you can expect to hear a lot more from me, and I can't wait to share it with you. Lots of love. Bye.